Getting back out of University of Lancaster.
Okay. That's good. Did you go? Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it the same one as mine?
Mhm.
Should be. No, thank you. This is the Microsoft. Oh, I know that sound. Yeah, I know. It's been a while. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hello. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Chase.
How are you?
Coffee for you?
Meeting was that already? Yeah, I mean, the dinner. Yeah, but I didn't go to the last one. You didn't go? I just wanted to know. Are you going tomorrow night to the
Drink decaf.
Pedro Pan,
Drink decaf.
the Pedro Pan presentation that Dr. Montoya is doing?
I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was Cuban coffee. Thanks. Everything you're gonna do. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Closest I come to that is a coffee convention.
Okay. Then me-
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're all ready?
I'm glad.
And
You're not built for blood pressure.
You're-
Nor am I.
Because he did that in the shower and that he had like vertigo.
is anyone joining us virtually, Erica? This week,
I
Brittany?
believe for Civic Plus, for an item on the. agenda,
Okay,
yes.
to give the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fahet.
Here.
Councilman Best,
Present.
Councilwoman Bravo. Here. Councilman Vasquez.
Here.
There is a quorum present.
Thank you. All stand, please, for an invocation by Councilman Best.
God of us all, please extend your blessings to our city of Miami Springs. Please appreciate the panorama that we all have to live in, raising our families, educating and culturing our children. Please bless our administration, employees, first responders, educators, and all citizens. Please bless the repose of the soul of Queen Elizabeth. And please grant us the courage to accept the things that we cannot change and the wisdom to recognize what we can. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
I'd like to invite the audience to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to our council meeting for September 12th. It's so nice to see so many faces out there. And we're going to start with the first agenda items, which are our awards and presentations. And our first agenda item is a swearing in ceremony for Alexander Alvarez for the Miami Springs Police Department.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Alexander Alvarez. Alexander, turn around so everybody can see you. Alexander grew up in South Miami. He graduated from South Miami High School in 2018. He joined us as a public service aide in 2020, and he did an outstanding job. He expressed his interest to go to the police academy. He had an opportunity to do that, and he just graduated this last Friday. And today on the road, first day on the road, first person he encounters that he runs a check on him has an active alias warrant. What was it for? Theft?
Yeah, here.
So anyways, Alexander is working on his AA from Miami-Dade College. And he's joined here today by his family, his mom, his dad, his stepmom, grandma, sisters, members of the shift and the department. Andy Gonzalez, who was our dispatcher, he's also in the academy. He'll be graduating in December, I believe. December. And somebody that I like to recognize that it really makes me feel good when I see him is Officer Julian Cotto from the Miami Police Department training staff. He was Officer Alvarez's drill instructor in the police academy, and somebody that I respect a great deal. I've known for many, many years. Thank you for being here with us tonight. So if you don't mind raising your right hand and repeating after me. I, Alexander M. Alvarez, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Florida against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, to uphold and enforce the laws of the United States, the County of Miami-Dade, and the City of Miami Springs. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservations or purposes of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of police officer of the City of Miami Springs, acting to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Alexander has asked his sister to pin the badge on him. A lot of you have met somebody else that's in the back who was a partner of mine for many years at Miami Police. His dad, Al Alvarez, who's now with the South Miami Police. We went through many doors together. So you have your speech. You have your speech. You don't have a speech? You sure?
So wait, Officer Alvarez, that we have a speech. First, I'll start. Thank you very much for becoming part of the Miami Springs Police Department and for pledging to protect and serve our community. I can't tell you from the depth I represent all of our residents, how grateful we are to you and your family for the services that you're going to be providing for so many years for us. And we greatly appreciate that and of your department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get up there with your family for pictures.
Yes.
Yes.
Family, come on. Al.
How wonderful. Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
Officer Alvarez. Which one? Which one? That happens to me all the time. That happens to me all the time with my son. I just wanted to add to the mayor's words, my great pride and happiness at welcoming you to the city of Miami Springs. Makes me think about my father-in-law who passed away a few years ago. Was a police officer in Puerto Rico for 31 years, rose to the rank of major and had a long career, and really doubly appreciate what you do. And I pray to God for your safety, your well-being, and that of your family as well. Welcome aboard and God bless. That was funny.
Thank you, Officer Alvarez
Yeah.
and Officer Alvarez. May God bless and protect you as you serve and protect us.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, no. Okay. The next agenda item is, we are honored today to have Mayor Levine Cava's newly appointed fire chief for Miami-Dade County, Chief Jadala. Welcome. Thank you for coming to Miami Springs to visit us.
So good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Chair, or Vice Mayor, members of the Great Council. I did meet Mr. Manager, and I did not have the luxury of meeting the city clerk. Congratulations to Officer Alvarez. Before I just kind of mention about myself, I just want to highlight what I've typically done historically is highlight the agency, highlight the department, highlight the family that we call not just Miami-Dade County Fire Rescue, but Miami Springs Fire Rescue. So I know that we are honored to have Station 35 as part of this city hall, but we have 71 firehouses that are technically Miami Springs Fire Rescue. 2,800 employees, 71 fire stations, 158 fire apparatuses that at the drop of a dime, we could respond to anywhere in Miami Springs. So we do have also 2 stations that are literally less than a mile in the vicinity of Miami Springs. Station 59, which is right off of 57th Avenue and 36th Street. And of course, Station 17, right off of 72nd Avenue. 72nd Avenue and 36th Street. So 65% of the calls do run out of Station 35. We do have the other 35% that do run out of Station 59, Station 17. And as you may be aware is that we just put Rescue 17 in service a few months ago out of Virginia Gardens, but Miami-Dade Fire Rescue has no territories. We do respond wherever we need to respond, for any type of emergencies. And then for, the residents of, Miami Springs, I know that we responded to 2,500 calls last year. We average approximately 6 minutes and 2 seconds to emergency calls in the Miami Springs area. But what really, stands out for our department, our agency is we have a rating of 4.85 out of 5 for the quality of care that we provided for the residents of Miami Springs. This is specifically for Miami Springs, residents. For all the surveys that have been submitted, we had a 4.85. So again, I know that I'm just extremely proud of our agency. Our department, again, it's not just Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, it is Miami Springs Fire Rescue. And I just want to say thank you for allowing us the honors to be your fire rescue department since 1979. A little bit about myself. 46 years old, been in the fire service now 26 years, 22 with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. I was very fortunate enough, just like Officer Alvarez, hired at the young age of 19 in Palm Beach County. And I've always bled green and gray, in regards to our colors of our fire trucks. I've been doing this also since I was 13 as an explorer for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. So it's always been in my system, the fire service, public service. I rose through the ranks, and of course, as you may have seen, I've been on quite a few emergency calls, some large scale incidents, even deployed across the United States for as part of the USARD members. I hope I just continue with with this type of opportunity, to kind of provide to the residents of Miami Springs and of course, Miami-Dade County. And again, Madam Mayor, I am just humbled to be, standing here before you. So again, thank you for the invitation to everyone here, to the residents of Miami Springs that you call home. Truly grateful that we are your fire department. So thank you.
Chief, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and let us get to know you and meet you. Congratulations on the
Thank you.
appointment. I know that's quite a lot of responsibility
Yes, ma'am.
for Miami-Dade County. And I wanted just to ask you,
Yes.
and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but the majority of calls that you get from Miami Springs, are they fire related or are they rescue?
So we had just over 2,500 calls. So in regards to Miami Springs specifically, we had 700 of those calls that were okay, out of those 2,500 calls, 786 were life-threatening calls. The rest were BLS calls, which are basic life support. And then we had 258 structure fires last year in Miami Springs. So we average one just under a day per, or one per, 3/4 of a day.
So the life threatening and the BLS are similar, they're rescue calls? Or
Yes,
they're
so you, in regards to the difference between an advanced life support call, which is also known as ALS, that could be a heart attack, a stroke, it could be a person trapped in a vehicle, bad incidents that require a very fast response. A person that may have slipped and just needs to be assessed but doesn't require lights and sirens is considered a BLS call. So we do categorize the two as two separate types of calls, ALS and BLS.
Any other
the
questions,
chair.
Council? Yes, one.
Welcome, Chief
Thank
Jadala.
you.
It's unfortunate the last 2 years we've had to call fire rescue a couple times with my grandpa, but all of the experiences since then have been so good. So the response time was very good, and they have this demeanor of they make you feel comfortable, and they kind of, I don't know if they downplay it, but they're very tactful, but also very charismatic. So it's when you're in a time of a tense situation, they have at least the team that we have here or whoever goes out has a way to really calm our nerves. So thank you for that service.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I think just with any agency, any public service agency, you don't want to bring more chaos to an incident. And of course, already tensions are high on a medical call or any type of emergency. Though we may categorize certain things as ALS and BLS, as I had mentioned, many of our residents don't know the difference. And, we treat all the calls the same, with, compassion, with care, with dignity. And at the same time, we need to reassure the residents and the family members, that without providing false hope, of course, but, reassuring that everything's going to be, all right.
Well, it's being delivered.
Excellent. Thank you. So.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Chief, I just wanted to ask you one other thing. You mentioned the Explorer program that you were
Yes,
in it.
ma'am.
And to me, those kind of programs, especially, in the middle school and high school ages, provide so much direction for certain youths that are kind of not sure what they'd like to do, but they'd like to find something. Is the Explorer program, could you send our city manager information on
Absolutely.
it, on how perhaps we could offer that here in our city? Especially, particularly, I think it's exciting since we have the fire station 35 right here. And I know that means a lot to our residents to see the city hall with the police department and the fire station right next to it. It's
Absolutely. And, our students that eventually go through the program, they do go through a first responder course. They're taught first aid, CPR, and when they do ride rescue, when they do ride the fire trucks, they, we're not letting them into structure fires, of course, but they do help on the fire scene. But on EMS calls, they're doing CPR, they're bandaging, they're doing that, pretty much everything an EMT, a basic life support emergency medical technician would do. With obviously the eyes, of 7 men and women that are on the 2 fire trucks. So, but I will provide that information. It is a great program, and I could tell you just standing before you that it's a great program because it allowed me to, be standing where I am. So
wonderful.
and kept me off the streets. So
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much,
Thank
Chief.
you
We
again.
look forward to working
you.
with you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Chief.
Oh, let's take, sorry, Chief, let's take a photo of all of us.
I've got Erica Benitez, my chief of staff, Maria Reyes, my assistant director for administrative services, and Mark Chavers is my district chief. That's on the B shift. So everything that's basically from Flagler North to Broward County line, he handles any major incidents, and of course, any incidents that require some follow-ups with our executives.
Okay, wonderful. Please join
Let's
us
get
all for
everyone
a
in the
photo.
picture.
Yes.
New direction.
Yes. Other duties as a son.
Yes. One, two, three.
Thank you. You guys keep them in check.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next agenda item will be the Yard of the Month Award. And do we have the Malay family here? Hey,
Oh, all right.
oh, wonderful. Your yard at, let me put on my glasses so I can read the address, 1281 Heron Avenue has been awarded the Yard of the Month for July 2022. So congratulations. Let's take a photo with them. And thank you. The whole community thanks you for beautifying Miami Springs. Thank you. Oh, yes, it's all you. You're the gardener.
No, but
You know, so often just when neighbors drive around and they see a beautiful yard, it inspires them to, okay, this weekend we're going Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and so thank you so much.
These two. Are these two?
Thank you very much.
So you're the gardener. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your yard?
It was all paid. Yeah.
Here's the microphone. No, come here so you can just tell us a little bit.
Yeah, it's a couple of palm trees in there, Robellini, a lot of Ixora Maui's, two agaves, which I didn't know that they can die, and also flourish in South Florida. Yeah, a lot of constant just gardening, going out there, taking the little ones out there, letting them run around the front yard. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Cheryl, I was gonna ask, but I didn't want to. Okay.
might be another one.
I just, I didn't want to ask before, but you're Cheryl's son. Oh, tell her hi for us. We love Cheryl. Okay, and our former police officer here at City of Miami Springs. You're kidding. Oh my
Oh, wow.
goodness, that's wonderful. And your dad was coach
Coach
at
Drew- Coach Drew,
Coach
she-
Drew at the, so your family has a lot of roots and has inspired a lot of people here in Miami Springs. So
My
thank
daughter
you.
ran track with your father. I know, I made her a better woman. Yeah, there you go.
You know, that's so Miami Springs. Everyone has connections and yeah, that's awesome. Thank you again.
Bye-bye, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just checking it, checking
Yes,
ahead.
good
here.
idea, because
Oh.
first I have to announce, I'm sorry, in case anyone is here, I should have announced it earlier. We are deferring item 11B tonight. We're not ready to have that. Was anyone here specifically for that item? I apologize if you were, or if you're online, but we're deferring that till the next meeting. Okay, so since the council is, pardon me, you were here for that. I apologize. I should have announced that earlier. We're just not ready to do that yet. Okay, the next agenda item is recognizing our City Hall Lobby Artist of the Month. And this month, it's a very, very, very special person who is not just an extremely talented artist, Joan Cavalier, but she's also the former First Lady of Miami Springs numerous times for 16 years. Her husband was our former mayor, John Cavalier. So Joan, come on up.
No, Artist of the Month? No.
Yes. right there. Very, very special. Not just very talented. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I've been doing it for many. I know when I first met John Cavalier many years ago, one of the first things we were in a meeting about the bike path and he had to take off. And you know why he had to take off? Because your car had broken down way in the Everglades where you were painting. And you called him and you said, I have a flat tire. And he had to, and I'm going, but where is she in the Everglades? He goes, who knows? She just drives out there and paints all day.
I was very lucky to get him because the light was changing, the seasons were changing, and he was available for my phone call. But if you ever go out there to do that loop road off the Tamiami Trail, it could be very desolate and lonely. And I didn't calculate correctly the amount of gas in my tank. I always overdo now because you never can count on that being enough. So luckily I got out of that. Yeah, I go out to I did go out a lot more. Now it's very hot. The last one that I have downstairs is a look into the water with a tannin and the lighting effects and the reflections of the green around it. So I put that in my head. I noticed it. I took photos of it, sketched a little, and then I went home and painted it. So that's my technique. But I studied with some of the other artists, Everglades artists. Sam Vinikoff, he's passed away. A.E. Backus, I really love his work. Backus does a Florida scenes like we like. And that's what I try to do. So, and then I'm teaching watercolors down with the seniors at the new center. You have to come and see what we've done there. It's wonderful. So with visiting artists that have worked and is setting up their art, going to workshops, and that you always love it. If it's in your heart, you love it. And I always had that knack for it. So I think everybody should find their talent and then share it. So that's what we do.
Wow.
Thank
Hear,
you
hear.
for your recognition.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Joan,
Joan.
for
Thank you, Joan.
beautifying City Hall.
Them know that they can try to and get and to exhibit there. It's good to exhibit your work. You get feedback. It makes you hurry up and make a better presentation. It's good for us.
And you beautify City Hall for a whole month. And I just wanted to say that, Joan, like she mentioned, she teaches the art classes at the senior center.
Right.
Representative Rizzo, Alex Rizzo, our new state representative, was here visiting Miami Springs last month. And we stopped by the senior center and visited with Joan and other seniors there. And when he saw the work that she had on the wall that residents of Miami Springs had created, he said that he wanted to ask for us to send a display for a collection for him to display in Tallahassee of our seniors' work. So I know Joan and Tammy are going to be working on that to send up to Tallahassee a collection, which I think is just such an honor for us to have our residents' work displayed up there.
We are so proud of our special place. Who has never been to the seen the new building? Has everybody seen the new building? I hope so, because if you have a grandma or a mother-in-law or somebody or an old grumpy old man that used to be your dear papa, he's bored, let him come, have a free lunch, do an activity, sit, chair yoga. We have so much to offer. We are so blessed here. And if you haven't seen it, and you're missing out. So
Thank you,
you again.
Joan.
Thanks, Joan.
Thank you so much. Okay, and the last item under awards and presentations is a proclamation that we have, and they're not here to receive it, unfortunately, but it's a proclamation by the mayor and city council of Miami Springs for designating September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So this is a really worthwhile project, the fight against childhood cancer. And we'll be sending them this proclamation, but it is from the whole city. Okay, next we'll move to open forum. And we have two persons signed up to speak at open forum. I just want to remind when you speak at open forum that the purpose of open forum is for you to address all of us at one time, all of the council members at one time. But because these items aren't on the agenda, we don't respond. We just listen. So it's really, like I like to say, one-way communication. We're all ears, eyes, watching you and listening. Okay. And first on the public forum, we have George Force. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. For those who don't know, I'm George Force. I'm the current city commissioner for Coral Gables and current candidate for Miami-Dade County District 6, which obviously encompasses Miami Springs. I was here at the beginning of our race, I believe in June, to stop by and speak to the council and the residents who listen into the meeting. Now that we find ourselves in a brand new race, a runoff election, I thought it would be fitting to start here again in Miami Springs to say hello to everybody. To let you know that first, thank you to the residents of Miami Springs for turning out in a rather impressive fashion for the vote this past August, at least relatively speaking, compared to other cities within District 6. It says a lot about the folks who live here and their level of engagement. I think it's a testament to the council as well. We are happy to report that since the last time we were here, we picked up a couple of key endorsements, including the police and fire of Miami-Dade County, including the Police Benevolent Association, as well as the Fraternal Order of Police and the South Florida Council of Firefighters, as well as others who sit on the dais up here, including one of my opponents during the first round, Councilman Victor Vasquez, who I got to know very well throughout the entire process as I've gotten to know Miami Springs. I've obviously visited here many times before and have multiple friends and family here, but I never really had occasion to spend as much time as I have now during this race here in my Springs, and spend as much time as I intend to continue spending from here to November. As I always say, this place reminds me a lot of my hometown of Coral Gables in terms of the things that you value and the things that you prioritize. And I'm here and I'm going to continue to fight for the opportunity to fight for Miami Springs, to protect its quality of life, the character of its neighborhoods, its families, and really to help its residents and the council through its residents continue to deliver for the residents and empower you all to be able to accomplish those things that you need county support for. For anybody listening, I look forward and I'm eager to speak to anybody from Miami Springs who wants to discuss any issue related to Miami Springs. My phone number is 305-527-7726. That's 305-527-7726. And if you want to email me, you can find my email on the internet very easily. Just put George Force, candidate for County Commission. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Through the chair, this is not meant to be a response, but you can add me to the list, George. I endorse you for county commissioner.
Okay, and next on the agenda, on the public forum, we have George Centine.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good afternoon. Promise not to talk about the racquetballs. So I'm here to talk about parking study. Congratulations on the grant money for it. It's important that we got that, and also very important.
A little louder, I think, or just
put it closer.
Yeah.
maybe closer. All right, okay.
So important that the parking study gets done correctly this time. And I think two things that are important that we do is that when you start creating the scope of work, that you guys are really involved in that process, because a lot of the methodologies, assumptions that this traffic engineer will make are crucial to the results. So the performance of this traffic study is critical based on what you guys put in that scope of work. I'm just going to talk 2 points. One, it's definitely needs to be the person who does it needs to be involved, meaning they physically have to come to our city, talk to the stakeholders, because the last time it was done, the gentleman did not leave his desk. Okay. This different type of scope of work. It was a desk type of assignment, and that's how he took it. But he needs to be involved. And the other thing, I think, it needs to have 2 periods of the study being done. If we're forced because the grant money needs to be spent now, you could pay things ahead of time and get results later. But I definitely think it needs to be 2-part. One, now that we have all those businesses are not even open yet, that we're hoping will open in the next 3 to 6 months, and one once those are open, because it just defeats the purpose by doing one now when we have still so many portions of our downtown, they're not even operating. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public forum, open forum. So we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is the approval of the council minutes for, I have here for August 15th workshop, the budget workshop meeting, and the August 22nd regular council meeting.
Through the chair, motion to move items 6A and 6B.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to ask the councils, if it is all right with the council, I'd like to request to move consent agenda item 9B up here because we have, someone, I think virtually
Yes.
to speak about it. Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah, move it,
Okay,
Mayor.
so we'll move 9B up, ahead of the reports
Mayor-
from boards and
Mayor,
commissions.
are you going to do 7A or not?
I was gonna do that after. Or do
Oh,
you want
okay.
me to do that
Yeah,
now? I
that
was
should
gonna
be
move them up
fast, so-
and
Yeah.
then after we do that, then, so they don't have to wait. Right, okay. Because Wendy's not here.
No.
I don't see her in the, right. Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead and, William, if you want to read this resolution.
Yes, this is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving an agreement with Civic Plus LLC for the C-Click Fix 311 service request management application, authorizing the city manager to issue a purchase order to Civic Plus LLC for the C-Click Fix 311 service request management application in an amount not to exceed $15,263.07 for fiscal year 22-23, and budgeted funds in future fiscal years, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. This is the item that we had added to next year's budget, and at the request of the mayor, Civic Plus was nice enough to join us tonight to give you a quick demonstration of how the system works.
And just to let everyone know, this is something that other cities, I don't know this product specifically, but that other cities, I've found out about recently within the past year or two, and William has, have these systems for residents to quickly report items that they find. If they see a pothole, if they see something that needs attention or a problem, and they want to notify the city instead of having to reach out to one of us or figure out what department to contact in the city. This is a quick app that a lot of cities are using. And I don't know this one particular, but this type of app, and they can take a picture of it and they can notify us right away. And there's a way to keep track of it. Yes, so it'll be.
I had, in your packet, I had sent you a list of some of the cities that that use it down here, and I know it's Surfside and what was the other one? I think it's in your packet. I think I put, when I sent
Yes.
you the background information. There's quite a few. Opelika uses it, Surfside, that I'm aware of, that I can remember, but Nicholas, I believe, and Andrew on the line, and they can fill you in on that.
Good evening, everyone. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having us. My name is Michael Nicholson. I'm the account executive here at C-Click Fix and Civic Plus. I'm also joined by my colleague, Andrew Shetty. Just kind of familiarize ourselves with Civic Plus. You use some Civic Plus products for the website already, so there is, we're set up as a vendor. We also now have acquired the company Municode, and I think that was in 2020, a Tallahassee-based company that helps with your code ordinances. So there's some familiarity there and kind of keeping it in under the same vendor. I wanted to just thank everybody for the opportunity to speak this evening. Andrew and I were messaging on the side of what a wonderful municipality you guys have. We've done a lot of these meetings, and you guys do a really nice job. So you guys should kind of give yourself a pat on the back. Also, just a quick congratulations to Officer Alvarez, if the family's still there. Cool to see that kind of lineage passed down, and you guys are in safer hands with him. So that's pretty cool for us to see. And then I just wanted to touch lastly on the fact that at the end of your council mission saying promoting quick, courteous responses to resident requests. And I think that's exactly what this tool will do. We work with about 700 municipalities across North America. We're the leader in the space. I think we have approaching 40 clients in Florida. Some of the ones that William didn't mention would be Key West, Boca Raton, St. Petersburg, Orlando, Pinellas County, Eustis, Newberry, Tavares. we've done really well in Florida. So we're hoping that trend continues. We'd be really excited to work with Miami Springs if you rule in favor. And also Nelson Rodriguez, who was formerly the IT director in Opelika, has come to the dark side. He works with Andrew and I. He was hoping to join you guys in person this evening, but it's his birthday this evening, so he's out for a family dinner. But I'm going to let Andrew share some slides here, and we'll kind of talk through a little bit. We're going to keep it very high level. If anybody has any questions afterwards, please feel free to contact me. I'm available whenever you need. Andrew, you able to speak here?
Yes, thanks, Mike. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome, excellent. As Mike mentioned, thank you very much for the time today. We'll keep this pretty high level. Mike and I, with our tenure combined, have been working in some form of capacity with C-Click Fix for over a decade now. So if you have any questions at the end, feel free to throw them our way, or if you want to follow up and ask, just let us know. So to kick things off here in terms of the visual, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So we have a tagline. We've been in business for over 15 years, serving both local government and their customers, their residents. And one of our main taglines is that we turn potholes into praise. It seems, I'm going to try presenter mode. I might lose you here. Let's see. Is that still capturing the presentation?
It is, Andrew. That's better.
Awesome. Okay, excellent. Yeah, so we turn potholes into praise. How are we able to do that? So we're able to do that because we create this cyclical process from beginning to end where your residents can have a really easy and seamless experience trying to get in touch with you when they have these non-emergency issues. And they can get in touch with you where they feel the most comfortable in terms of a communication channel. And from that end, we're able to streamline all of that data and with the advanced technology, really accurate data and get it into the hands of your team members instantaneously. And based off your customized workflow, we can automate its assignments and then allow those staff members to do all their work from anywhere and their communication and keep residents in the loop throughout the life cycle of the request. And that's how we turn it into praise, because usually a resident might have an issue and then they don't really know what happens to it until maybe they drive by, or if they follow up a bunch and kind of stay on top of it. This eliminates all of that process and makes the administrative side of things super simplified. And so the way we're able to accomplish that from an actual technology standpoint is that we have kind of three main core pillars. For you all, two of those are really the more applicable ones. So first, our resident engagement tools. They can get in touch with you for a wealth of experience, mobile application, your website, a phone call, and then we centralize that information for your team to do their day-to-day, manage those requests, track the cost of services, etc., and being able to get back in touch with the resident, along with the wealth of data analytics. And then you can also grow with us. As you continue to invest in more technology, especially departmental specific technology, we're able to integrate into very robust systems such as asset management, code case management, GIS. Mike already gave it a little bit of a resume, but just know that we've been around for a very long time. We are the industry leaders in this particular market. And we're very proud of that. And we'll also, not just kind of like sign off and leave you stranded. We also take care of you as well with a wealth of customer service awards, quick response times, and you also get a dedicated staff member for the entire implementation process from contract signing to a go live date. Now, what's your residents' experience like? Well, again, they can get in touch with you in all those channels they feel the most comfortable with. So one, leveraging your Civic Plus website. So this is just a client of ours. You can embed the C-Click Fix portal right on one or multiple landing pages. It's also mobile responsive, which is really important. When your residents go to your website from a mobile device, they can still use this tool from there. You also get to customize the journey for your resident. If you want to kind of expose and show all that work that you're doing publicly, that you can show this map and actually show the active work, and you can control what displays publicly or not. You can also just show a list of categories or just have them select a location and submit an issue. They can also work with you in terms of using a mobile application. So they download it, they can use location services, but what's great is when they open it up, it pulls up your background. You can have a really nice photo there, your city seal or logo, and then these custom mobile buttons Really great way to drive your residents to common information they're trying to find. What's really slick about the mobile app too and those buttons is that it can open other apps on their phone, like social media, other apps you might be leveraging. It can also call numbers directly or go straight to landing pages for your website or a third-party website. And then, of course, they can report issues to you as well. So we have this algorithm that's very slick, very seamless. Where's your issue? What's your issue? We have duplicate detection built in there, which is a win-win for both parties. Save your residents time, and then also save your staff time from receiving multiple submissions on the same issue. And then, of course, for staff that are customer service facing, taking those phone calls or those walk-ins and entering that information on behalf of the resident. Where's your issue? What's your issue? Can you describe it and answer some of these questions? And then, hey, we've implemented this 3-on-1 service. If you give me your email, I can actually initiate the sign up for you. And we can give you the automated follow-up as we progress through resolving this issue. And then a lot of what I've spoken about is the intake of information from your residents. What happens if something happens where you have an event or you need to do some sort of storm remediation or you're doing a road closure? How do we push information out to them? You can use SeeClickFix notices. As a staff member, compile all that information, and then you can display it on your website. You can push it as a email to their phones, and then you can also send it as a push notification to the mobile app if they have that on their device as well. And those residents can pull up any historical notices that they may have received from you in the past so that they don't have to call you or follow up on it. It's all right there. For your staff, you get unlimited licenses, so you can have as few or as many staff members involved in this process, and we'll work with you to configure your account so that the workflow is meeting your customized needs of where the information goes and the assignment goes, but it's all going to get automated. Pothole gets submitted, it goes into the system, and what's great is your staff can track and manage all the communication and all their workflow from anywhere, from their desktops, from a mobile device using a browser, or even in that mobile app itself. They can be logged in under their user license and address their issues there. And for staff, it's really simple. They can find any information they need with a searchable criteria with a wealth of, if you can see on the far left here, due dates, statuses, priorities, assignments, and then lock in on the information that they're trying to find. And then letting the resident know, hey, I've reviewed this and we've started a workflow. All they have to do is acknowledge it. You can have some prepared content in there. And then when the issue is resolved, that staff member, again, even from the field, can say, hey, I removed this illegal dumping. I fixed this light. I replaced this street sign. Here's a photo of it. And thank you for working with us. We look forward to continuing to serve you. And again, all of that messaging you can have prepared and approved by the staff members that you want internally. And then analytics are really important. The better data you have, the more educated decisions you can make. Being able to see from a geographical breakdown where all your requests are coming in from your residents, get an idea of trends and areas that you need to focus on particularly, and then the quantifying of that analytics to make better decisions. Being able to compile and see how quickly are we responding to our residents? How quickly are we closing things out? How many things are still overdue? How many things are still open? Are we meeting our service goals that we've set in terms of, a street light outage? We want those closed in 7 days. We've only met 78% of that goal of those issues that came in over a specific time period. And then these reports can actually be created very seamlessly and easily and then sent to you or a group of people on a scheduled basis. Department head might want to get a weekly report card from SeeClickFix to see how their team's doing, or a monthly or a quarterly. And then we also allow you to track your cost of services. So being able to track how much time you spent replacing a street sign, and then being able to easily and seamlessly just tag that work that you're doing on the fly as a staff member, if that's something that would be appealing. And then lastly, around implementing or SeeClickFix and growing with you, the great thing is that we have a long list of third-party systems that we continue to grow out that we are able to integrate with to say if public works or community services or code enforcement decide to invest in software down the road, we have a wealth of options that we can integrate with and create a seamless experience for everyone. And then the last bit is that implementing this service is very seamless and easy as well. We have a whole plan, 5-phased approach. And this is something from contract signing to go live. we would be able to accomplish that in around 90 days with your scope of work. So that's everything that we want to show you today, William, or any of the elected officials. Do you have any questions for Mike and I?
Does anyone have any questions? I do. I have one. I'm still not clear. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. Very much
Welcome.
appreciated. I'm still not clear for the resident experience. When a resident sees something that they want to report and they're with their phone, and they want to report illegal dumping that they noticed on some corner, there's all this trash that has been dumped there. They take a picture of it with their phone and what exactly do they do? What is their experience?
Sure, no problem. Andrew, I can take this one because I think I have a recent example as well. So this is Mike Nicholson speaking, and Andrew, thank you for the presentation. Just to elaborate a little bit more on the customer experience, for your constituents on the front end, it would be similar to the experience I have where I live. We have some town and gown issues where I live because there's a big university here. And when the kids leave college at the end of the year, they dump their couches in my neighborhood at the end of the year just because it's cheaper that way than hauling them home. So every year I just go to the end of my street there. It's a little bit forested, and I take a photo on my iPhone. And when I take that photograph, it actually pulls the metadata from the photograph, which is just geek speak for pulling the Latin long of where that request issue is. And it directly submits it from my iPhone through SeeClickFix to my local municipality, which is Hamden, Connecticut, which is right near Yale University in New Haven. So that is automatically routed directly to the city where they resolve that. And about 10 minutes later, I received a notice that the city was going to come out and work on it. There's some follow-up questions based on the request that I'm trying to submit for illegal dumping. And I, put some information in there in a comment field that said that, this one, in this instance, it was just a lazy boy recliner, so they could pick that up in a pickup truck. And they actually came and picked it up within an hour and sent a picture of it cleaned up and closed the ticket out. So it's a really easy way to use if you're using your mobile phone. One of the cool places we have in Florida that uses a lot of mobile device that you wouldn't think is actually Century Village East in Deerfield Beach. They're a 55 and older community. They do a lot with the mobile phones. And there's a couple other ways that people can submit requests. They can also do it on the website. They can log onto your website, and it looks like they're staying within the municipal website, submit a request that way if they don't do it on their smartphone. Additionally, you're probably going to have walk-ins. If a walk-in comes in, one of your staff members can submit a request on their behalf, as well as a call taker tool for when those phone calls come in, they can submit a request on behalf of the resident as well.
Okay, and the resident would have to have an iPhone?
They can have either an app, any kind of modern smartphone.
Android?
So, they could have an Android device or an iPhone.
Okay.
The other nice thing is that staff can manage this on their mobile devices in the field if they have them. So if it's a rugged tablet, an iPad, a mobile application on their smartphone, if you'd like the staff members to be able to manage it in the field, they can do it that way. My father-in-law works in public works in the city next to us, and he uses it.
Okay. And was there in the presentation, was there a part then that I thought I heard that then one of our staff members are on the phone taking information?
That's correct. Andrew, do you want to go back a couple slides here? So, phone calls are going to come in, whether they come in departmentally or to a main line. These can easily be logged by a staff member. It's a nice way to get them all into one city here as Andrew toggles back here. So this is what a new request would look like that comes in. So this is just saved to your favorites in your web browser. When a phone call comes in, this could even come into one of you from a neighbor. Maybe a neighbor calls one of you council members and says, hey, I have a down tree at the end of my driveway. Can you help me submit a ticket? You could actually go ahead and go into SeeClickFix and submit a request on their behalf, or any of the call takers for the city. So you just go through, it's a very simple approach. Where is it? What is it? What does it look like? We can set up a couple of follow-up questions for you during implementation based on the request type that will help you to be better prepared to go resolve the issue, whether that's a down tree, is it blocking traffic? Is the pothole sizable? Is it in the middle of the road? Those type of questions with some follow-up questions that a call taker would input on behalf of that resident. And then it's all entered into one system with visibility for all of your staff.
Okay, but I guess I thought so I must have misunderstood. If you report it on your iPhone, you don't have to make a call, or you're not speaking to someone by phone. It's two separate ways to report something.
Yeah, there's
Correct.
multiple ways to report something. Absolutely.
Right.
So on the smartphone, the easiest device, the way for the city to handle this is kind of a hands-off approach where it comes in and the resident takes a photo on their mobile application or on their smartphone and submits it that way. That way you don't have to have the labor costs of a phone call. Those are distracting and can add up in costs. So that's a really good way, kind of the return on investment there for SeeClickFix. And then the other way is some of those people, like my father, he is never going to submit a request on a mobile device. He's always going to call you or walk in person and want to look somebody in the eyes like Erica and tell her, Erica, this is the most important pothole you've ever received. I need you to input this information. So, somebody would put it in on behalf of my dad and it's resolved that way. So we're always going to have to kind of clear those hurdles as well on the back end for your staff taking phone calls.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Through the chair, if I
Yes,
might.
sir.
Mike, thanks for the presentation. I just have one question here. This strikes me as a very good bridge for certainly one department here in Miami Springs, and I'm certain nationwide, others might employ the same, and that would be public, not just public works for relative to potholes, but code compliance in terms of something that might be an open issue with the city that could be bridged to the system and more easily affected.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good
experience in other cities.
That's a very good point, and it kind of leads me to a little bit of inside baseball here, some of the more technical stuff that we're very familiar with the sunshine laws in Florida. So having so many clients in Florida, we can help you work through some of the nuances of the request data associated with that. But absolutely, we can help you with code enforcement. I was even thinking something, for the award winner for Yard of the Month. That's something if you wanted to have people submit anonymously pictures of Yard of the Month, you could do that where it wouldn't show publicly any of that information, but those could come in for Yard of the Month awards, and that could go to a certain staff member if you wanted. It's a really nimble platform that we could help you customize.
Yeah, it strikes me as there's possibly several more applications that this system could be useful for.
Yeah, some of the other departments that come to mind, animal control, Parks and Rec is a big one. It's really hard to manage recreational trails and overflowing trash bins in parks. This is a good way to have kind of X marks the spot on a trail as well if somebody goes to report a downed tree. And the other thing that's really important in the use case for Miami Springs is we can set up different shape files where annexations that are impact, you have impacts of annexations, we can change out the geography very simply for you so that you're receiving requests that you want to be responsible for.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This is the first one I've really wanted to be in person for. I wish we were actually here for this one. I've done a lot of them. This was one that Andrew and I were texting. We really wish we were there. So you guys have a wonderful community. We look forward to hearing from you, William. Also, just briefly wanted to thank Tammy for all of her help. Jorge, you guys have a great staff, and we're really appreciative of the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members.
Thanks, everyone.
And just to follow up with what Councilman Best said, I think that was the first reason we started looking at something like this was code compliance, because, we have residents who say, there's something, have you seen this at the, end of the block or, over on the street, and they want to report it. They want us to look at it. It might be very often, there might be a permit for it. It might be underway. We're aware of it or whatever, but they would like some feedback because they're questioning it. And it's a quick way and several other cities are using this type of app. I don't know specifically this one, but this type of app, we found out, to report code compliance issues, things that they want, that they would like to report and do it quickly. And for all of us, it's usually easier to do it right when we see it than, to wait to get home. You totally forget about it, or that you're by a computer.
Through the chair, I certainly think the program's money well spent. And with that, you have a motion to move the item, Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes,
The motion carries.
I think 15,000 is
We do the 9A.
money well spent.
Also,
Okay, yes, let's go ahead while we're in consent agenda, for consent agenda item 9A.
The resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, approving the issuance of a purchase order to Ovis and Company LLC for citywide asphalt patching services on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $25,000, providing for a waiver of competitive bidding, providing for authorization, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
I'll
And I
second.
have a couple spots.
I'll second
All
that.
right, any discussion? Call a vote, please.
Vice Mayor Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
So I guess the CFIX click
Well,
can,
you know,
can,
it's
can,
funny
can
because
see if
it-
Ovis and Company does their job right.
click fix, you know,
Yeah,
so
I
it
know.
kind of follows. Hopefully that'll help us be more responsive to issues that our residents see and also follow up and let them know the status of them in a more expeditious way. Okay, so let's move back up. We've approved the council minutes. We need to do agenda item 7. Agenda item 7A, reappointing board member Wendy Anderson Boeher to the Ecology Board. She's my appointee as mayor, and she has already served on it for numerous years, done a wonderful job. So this has to be, I guess some boards, we need to approve it.
Right, she's served 3 consecutive terms already, and as per the ordinance, they are required to be reappointed again, and she continues, she's still willing to serve on
okay.
the board. So,
Okay,
I'm fine with it.
all right.
Yeah, sure.
Do we need a vote on
it's
that?
voice vote, roll call.
Okay, a voice vote, everyone's,
vote, yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Wendy, for all the years that you've served on the Ecology Board. We
Yep.
greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's do public agenda item 8, which we have public hearings for 2 resolutions. I'm going to open this up for public hearings on both at the same time. Do you want to read the resolution, William, the 2 resolutions?
One at a time, right? But I also want to read my memo.
Okay.
Yes, we can,
Okay.
we can, let's read the titles of both resolutions and we can have the discussion on both items. And then we'll vote separately and William, you'll do your presentation. Is
Okay,
that
and
okay?
do we need to do the public hearing before we read the items or?
No,
No.
well, no, I think you can have a public hearing once you have the explanation.
Okay, sounds good.
8A is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of 6.99 mils, which is 5.35% higher than the rollback rate of 6.6352 mils to balance the general fund for fiscal year 22-23 and providing for an effective date. 8B is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, confirming date of second public hearing and providing for an effective date. And I go into the memo now, or you want to do a public hearing?
We can read the second reso as well.
I did,
Yeah, she's
All
right.
right.
read both of them.
Yes.
Before we finalize the, I wanted to give you an update based on what we discussed at the last workshop. Based on the $300,000 surplus from the current year, we now have $151,858 left for any other council considerations or additional millage reduction. As you know, after the first and second workshops, I have a list of some of the items that were added or deducted from the budget. Number 1 was the River Cities Festival increase to $20,000. The $15,264 for the acquisition of the new phone app communication system we just did. Council approved increasing the request from the Historic Society by $3,400 to $12,620, from $12,620 to $16,020 to cover $7,500 in storage and $8,520 for a new aluminum fence. Council also approved holding a number of movie nights at different locations. This is minimal cost and no significant effect on the budget. Council approved $5,000 to be set aside for donation requests from local civic groups, local schools, and local Boy Scout and Girl Scout groups. Council added $30,000 to the city attorney budget for future code revision work. Council eliminated the $20,000 request for a new digital marquee on the circle and by consensus agreed to remove the existing marquee on the circle. Council also requested the details of Councilman Best's request to add an additional 2% COLA to those general employees earning $50,000 or less. Attached, you will find a worksheet which shows the following. There are a total of 78 full-time general employees, excluding department heads. Of these, 54 fall under the $50,000 and below threshold. That's about 69% of the total. The general fund impact will be $37,701 fully burdened. Fully burdened, I mean adding benefits, pension and taxes and all that. The impact on the sanitation and stormwater enterprise funds will be 8,175, while the impact on the building department is 3,611. The total for all funds is 49,487. The breakdown of eligible employees by department is found on the last page of the report which I gave you. Below are some millage rates that council may consider, along with the corresponding effects on the surplus, and no other expenditures are added to the budget. At 6.99 is where we currently are now, which is a surplus of 151,858. At 6.95, the surplus will be 96,765. At 6.9, it will be 27,899. At 6.88, at this millage, the budget will be balanced with no surplus and includes only items 1 to 7 above, does not include the 2% COLA. At 6.9071, this is the lowest millage possible if council adds the 2% additional COLA. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, which has come up in the last couple of weeks, we have a safety issue with the batting cages at Prince Field and at Peavy. I think Omar's on the line. And Omar's been, we've gotten calls from the Little League about some safety issues with children at the batting cage. Well, you know, we have fences now with poles, and apparently the ball, when it hits the pole, it's bouncing back and can hit some of the kids. So Omar went out and got some preliminary quotes about removing the fence and putting Omar, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So the estimate that he got today was around the neighborhood of $30,000. So our recommendation is, since this is a safety issue, I think we need to do this. And in doing some preliminary numbers, if we do the 2% additional COLA and we add the 30,000 for the batting cages, we would still be able to lower the millage to about 6.93.
Through the chair, Omar, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I took a ride over the other day and took a look at that. It is a rather grim situation how it's deteriorated. I think it's due some action in some capacity. William, what was the numbers on this? Did you say
For the batting cage, 30,000 for both.
For both of them?
Mhm.
And that would eliminate the problem with the poles being exposed and balls careening off of the poles, or would there be some type of
It
padding?
would be with a netting. It's a netting.
With a net, Omar?
Yeah, the only poles would be with 4 corners, more or less. But we have current existing poles like in the middle of the cage, and that's where a kid can hit a line drive and it ricochets back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put tension poles there where they won't be hit. If a ball hits the tension pole, it's gonna basically the ball collapse. But there will be poles, the 4 poles, the 2 in each corner on we say the north side or the south side of the cage. We gotta have those in there so that there's support beam for the screening. However, we're gonna put a pad around those poles, so about 6 to 8 feet up, to basically avoid from the ball ricocheting back or anything like that. But the biggest issue is the top of the cage, because a lot of kids will hit line drives or pop-ups and it hits the pole, which is like the T-beam on top of the fence, and then it comes right down. It comes right down on top of the coach or another kid that might be in there. So we've been lucky. We've had these cages forever. We haven't had an issue. As of recent, there was an issue. But yeah, the cages at the cost that we're getting them at, if it's something that we could do, it'd be very beneficial for Little League, and just on a safety issue, it'll be worth it.
I know that most
also
coaches
includes all new turf.
that
does include new turf and everything.
I expect that most coaches are vigilant in relative to their players going into the cage to take hitting. But would you think that maybe we should have some signage in there which absolutely requires the batting helmet to be worn while taking practice?
Yeah, we could put signage, but we don't allow, the league doesn't allow anybody in there without a helmet. So we can have signage, of course, but the The league also has rules on that. They don't allow anybody into that. No. And we usually don't open the cages up unless Little League is using them or it's upon request at the community center.
Any other questions on this? Omar, it's my understanding that this, it's the older, batters, I guess, that are, it affects more the condition of the batting cage, that there's more danger when we're having
yeah,
an older one.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, they're going to hit the ball harder, so it's going to be a lot more reaction to the ball hitting off the post. So yeah, the older the kid, definitely the harder it's going to be hit, the harder it's going to kick back off the pole. Yeah, no doubt.
And so this, these corrections to the cage, like they're not new cages, they're just modifications to them, right?
Correct.
Is that
It's a modification to the current existing cages that we currently have.
Is that something that the modifications, and I don't quite understand exactly what they are, but my question is it a rig or is it really a modification that we're doing that is consistent with how batting cages should be?
No, it's not a rig.
about
It's
batting?
a modification. That's what we're doing is this. If you really wanted to do 2 brand new cages, you're looking at almost $60,000. So what we did is we currently use what we have, which we have a concrete slab there already. We have 4 existing poles. So we're taking what we have and taking advantage of it, and then using the net that we need to get in the tension poles to create, which you can see in almost any park now that has brand new renovated cages. It's not going to be rigged. It's going to be exactly what we're looking for. But
Modified to
we
what
are
it needs to be to serve its
Correct.
purpose. No,
Correct.
okay.
It's going to have new turf, everything. It's going to be completely redone. The only spot that's going to have a fence is at Prince on the east side. That fence on Chippewa, that's basically the fence of the park. So we can't take that fence down. We can't, because then we're gonna rip up the whole fence basically. So that's the only place that there'll be fence, but everything else it'll be netting. But on that fence, we're gonna have like a pad that goes across, so the ball wouldn't ricochet off of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
Okay. Any further questions on this?
Through the chair?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, William, so at 6.90.
Thank you, Omar.
Thank you, Omar.
you,
Would
guys.
include, if we were to include obviously the 2% COLA, would the 2% COLA be for just 1 year or is that a continued basis?
They get a 2% increase now and that stays.
It'll be that, whatever the
Just like the
2% is,
4%
it'll
that
be
we're
the-
giving everybody else, that
not
stays.
not 2%
That stays
next year.
forever?
No.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, got it.
yeah,
No.
Yes or
raises
no?
their
He's saying no.
salary.
yeah. It's not a one-time payment. It's, if you're making 10,000, you get 4%. That's 10,400.
Right, right, but is the
That's-
agreement for the year?
Yeah, for the budget year.
Okay, so if we do 6.90, that could include, based on the breakdown here, the 2% COLA.
Does not include,
Oh, it doesn't?
no.
Because I have here 6.88 would break
6.88
even, but does not include, it's only items 1 through
1 through
7.
7, it doesn't include
But
the
that's under 6
the
point,
2%.
that's under 6.88.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about 6.90 with a surplus of 27.8.
Yeah, that only includes 1 to 7. That's it.
Oh.
Wait,
No.
no, I'm confused then too. The number 6.9,
Right.
that does include the 2%,
Does
right?
not include the 2%, no.
No, it's 9/10.
Okay, so then so you have it above, so 6.9. I have 2 6.9s. That's the problem. I have one that says 6.9 with a surplus of 27,899.
Right.
And then I have a 6.88 where you would break even at the millage and it only includes items 1 through 7.
Right.
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 So I'm not, so I'm
Set
not,
6.9071, I think is what you're asking about.
6.9071 is the lowest millage if you add the 2%.
Okay,
okay.
so that's what you mean, right? That's what you're asking about.
Okay,
6.9071, I believe. Is that correct?
6.97.
So then wouldn't we have more of a, why is there no surplus there if we're at 6.907 and then the one on the top, it says 6.90000 with a surplus of 27?
Yeah,
Is
because
that because you
because
put in
you-
the 2% COLA?
6.9071, you have zero surplus. you're using
Using
all
the
the
money,
surplus
all of it.
and you're getting the 2% raise. At 6.90 and a 27,899 surplus,
Okay, so
what you're doing is that's why you're using the surplus to reduce millage.
no, I got that.
Right.
I got that point.
Right.
So what I was trying to come at is that if we include the 30,000 in the cages, I guess we would be out of pocket $2,100, right? We would have to take something from the general fund, right? Because we don't.
The 30,000. You're adding
Oh, no.
30,000.
Well, yeah, because
the
we have the
batting cage.
2% plus about it. Yeah, I
But
got it.
we haven't decided that we're doing the 2% increase.
No,
right?
No, he's putting it out.
Now.
Okay.
That's what the discussion.
So can I bring up the same point that I brought up before? I think it's unfair, especially as we get down. So we've got safety to life issues with we've gone through this whole process and we're deciding where we're going to put money and where we're not going to be putting money. We have safety issues that we have to address. If everybody's already getting a 4% COLA, right? And if we're getting to the point now where the numbers decide whether or not we raise or lower or maintain the millage rate, which affects everybody in the city, if everybody's already getting a 4% COLA, I don't think that it's fair to give an additional 2% COLA increase just for people that are under 50,000. Because if you're making 51,000, then you just gave now I'm getting paid less than the person that was getting before. Like, I just feel like it's unfair. And I feel like we have residents that are in the private sector that would scoff at the fact, like we're already giving a 4% COLA increase to everybody. I feel like if we're going to give an increase in cost of living, it should go to everybody, not just the people. I mean, nothing against the people. I get it. Like, I know the cost of living is expensive. That's why we're giving 4% to everybody. I think that if we're going to give a cost of living increase, it should be to everybody and it should be the same for everybody, not just arbitrarily, picking the number, everybody that's making 50,000 and less. And then if you're making 51,000 or 50,500, then you don't, apparently it's not as important to you. Like, I don't know. It just seems unfair to me. And if we're going to be paying for the 30,000 to address a safety issue that we have with the batting cages, I don't know. I feel like we should rethink that.
Well, Vice Mayor, I would question your math on that, because with the slight reduction in millage, which is being suggested, it will benefit it'll benefit more people. I'll give you that, but it won't benefit them by much. If you in fact go for the 2% over the 4 for those, which in my opinion are the foundation of the workforce of Miami Springs, of our city, and keep us, it keeps a good workforce in place. It's good. It's just good policy every once in a while to do this. And as I said at our last meeting, well, you got to cut it somewhere. You got to, it's.
Well, not necessarily. And the people that are making 50,500 are just as important part of the workforce. Like, I agree that they're important parts of the city workforce. I think they do great work. I think that arbitrarily setting a number and giving an extra 2% there, like, again, like, I just think that the optics of it, when there are people that work in the private sector, that it's like, this is what you get paid. And if you don't like it, hit the bricks, right? They don't get cost of living. I mean, I think that a lot of people, fairly or unfairly, they look to government and how government spends things and how people get paid. And they're just, I think that they could argue that this is just like giving something additional to people that, while it may be, it may be deserving, not everybody, other people are deserving and they don't get it. And especially within if we were giving an extra 2% to everybody, then, hey, you could argue, well, like, I'm in the private sector, I don't get it, but we're like arbitrarily cutting it off at 50,000. Like, I feel like it from a bunch of different angles, it's unfair. And I think that you don't have to draw the line somewhere. You could just not do it, or you could try to make it so that what would it cost? If we're giving everybody 4%, give everybody 4.5%. That way everybody gets, at least it's not unfair within our staff that we're trying to reward, because I feel like we're picking certain people over others. I don't know.
I think what you're doing here, basically, or what the proposal is suggesting, is that you take care of the rank and file. You are not taking care of management. If that's better put on the table for you for your consideration, it's for the rank and file. It is not for management. I think that's as simple as I can be about it.
I have a
And it's
question.
also, sorry, Victor, and it's also, and it's also something that we can't affect the private sector as elected officials, but we can affect municipal officials. That also I would add to my argument.
Just a clarification through the chair. Because I don't think the 2% that Councilman Best is talking about is a COLA. I think it's increasing the base salary of those individuals by 2%. Seems to me.
Isn't that what COLA does?
No,
Well, I don't.
no, cost, no. It's my understanding, a cost of living adjustment is a review every year to see if we can help folks, right? Meet the rising, that's the way I've always understood it.
Historically,
I think what, just to finish my thought, William, that is to raise the base salary of a group of people by 2%. Right? Cost of living is applied.
Well,
There's two different things here because we're talking about
Yes.
people who happen to be employed, but those are individual jobs that are listed at a certain salary.
Yes.
So if we're doing that, that's another whole scope of taking, reviewing the salary ranges for
Yeah, no,
positions
I'm just
in all these
clarifying that.
departments and deciding
But
that
I-
the starting salary is going to be higher
Understood,
because some of these people are not at starting salary. They might have been there 2 years. So I think we have to look at it as cost of living.
I
That's all
think,
it is.
yeah,
COLA.
maybe I could put it a little simpler here in my estimation anyway. We're not messing with a pay scale here. We're not touching a pay scale. I think that's the operative word here, pay scale. We're not touching a pay scale. So in fact, by virtue of that line of thinking, it is an increase in COLA. Now, if somebody gets a 2% increase over the floor, let's say 6%, that's a nice chunk of change for anybody. I don't care where you work.
Sure.
But now that's going to probably put them in a different
Pay scale.
relative to the pay scale, but we're not changing the pay scale. That's not my intention here. My intention is to just give them a boost
Okay.
and build the foundation.
Stand corrected.
No. I understand how you could have been confused because I don't think I explained it properly. But it's for the intention of building a foundation and going forward with the city. Look, I'm not going to be here after April, so you guys are going to have to live with that. But I just think it's the right thing to do, and we have the money to do it. And it's money. It's in, as we said earlier on an issue that we all did vote on. It's money well spent.
Through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I do agree that when we approach these matters for compensation, it should be across the board because I think that everybody's job criteria and scope has different stressors, different responsibilities. It's just all very different. So I don't like picking out a few apples from a basket. That's just me thinking as a business person. Because I'm sure that if I do something like that, I'd probably have some employees leaving. So the 2% COLA is a no for me. Just my idea for that. My thoughts.
Fine. I respect your opinion. Do
So
we need a vote on this measure to continue discussion on it,
figure
or?
out how we're going to do this because there's so many different items on here. I think one of them is, can we all agree with the batting cages? It's a safety issue.
Yeah,
It's
that I feel
30,000.
like
We
we
got to
need to
spend it
address.
now or later. I'd rather spend it before somebody gets injured. So we all agree. We're
I'm
putting
in agreement.
30,000 in. Okay, so let's
Yes.
get that out of the way. So before we get back to this with the 2%, are we all in agreement with everything else that William has in his memo as far as the budget items? Is there anything else that
My
we're in
concern
agreement
was,
with the 4% across the board, the
Yes.
4% COLA across the
Yes.
board, and all of these other items? Okay,
Correct.
so I guess there's two ways to look at this now. That the next things are, one is how far lower do we want to get the millage rate? We've already agreed at 6.99, but we've always said that that's just the top.
Mhm.
We always try as much as possible after we review the budget that gives us wiggle room is to even do better. So that's one thing. I would like to see it if we can, slice off a little bit of it. I would like to see that. I think that, that's always a possibility. I mean, ideally, since we went with 6.99, I would like to see if we could get under 6.9 to 6.8999, but if we can't, we can't. I mean, it's ultimately what's important is that we're providing the services we need and, and we're doing what the city needs, financially. So we can either look at it from the millage rate where we want to be, or we can look at it from the 2%. I guess the 2% is probably what we need to agree on.
Yeah, Mayor, I think we should look at these things independently. I have a question. William, didn't you say that like traditionally the COLA increases what percentage?
3%.
3. So we're already going to 4 for everybody. I don't see how. I think that there is an argument to be made against arbitrarily picking a number and giving an extra 2% just for a subset, like, because we're defining that they're rank and file and somebody just outside of that, I guess, isn't rank and file. And I don't, if you're not doing it for everybody, we're already doing more than the 3%. We're already doing 4% for everybody. I feel like just giving 2% for people under 50,000 is arbitrary. And all that does, I feel, is just like have people question like what the justification was.
As in any business, Vice Mayor, if you don't take care of the worker bees, you don't have a business.
Yeah, I know, but we're paying this with taxpayer
Evidently,
money.
you don't agree with it, though.
Right, I know, but it's not my money. It's not our money. It's the taxpayers' money. I feel like we should, and I know that you know that. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm just saying that like these are conversations we need to have because I feel, just in this particular case, feel like it's being a little bit arbitrary to pick 50,000 and then give an additional 2% COLA. And then we're going to follow up that conversation, whichever way it goes, with, okay, so now how much are we going to lower the millage rate for the residents whose money we're using to pay for this additional increase, but only for a certain subset of staff. Like to me, it just seems unfair. I don't think it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. I don't agree with it. I don't think we should think that way. I think that we should
keeping in mind relative to the millage rate that we're on the threshold of annexation, which will kick our millage rate down to 3.7 to 3.9. And we are discussing trying to do some serious damage, reducing the millage rate further than we already have. We've already reduced it by 12%, for heaven's sakes.
I got it. If I were making 50,500, I would kind of like roll my eyes and be like, oh, wow, that stinks that I just missed being, within the arbitrary cutoff. And I feel like that's unfair.
I think typically in most businesses that I've been part of, 41 years in aviation to be specific, I can tell you that in most management scenarios, you are individually awarded for your efforts if you are in management. You are not individually rewarded for your effort. It comes en masse for the worker bee.
I think one thing here, though, is we're talking apples and oranges because you're talking about, from what I understand, Councilman Fahet, is you're saying you have an issue with arbitrarily choosing
Correct
50,000 instead of 40,000. We have a lot of employees that make under 40,000, and we actually have employees that make under 30,000.
Right.
And these are
Correct.
jobs. We talk about like teachers' pay and all this. They get vacation and summers and all these are really hard working jobs year round that they're making, not to disparage teachers or anything, but I'm saying, there are a lot of jobs here that are under 30,000 and under 40,000 that are workers that are, year round providing services for us. But I understand your part of it is arbitrarily, where do we draw, the line, or 55,000. And I think, Councilman Best, what you're talking about is management. I don't see that this 50,000 delineates management and non-management.
I think if you check all of the in the budget book, which we have the amounts of everybody that makes, whatever they make, department heads and all the above, you're going to find that it's over 50,000 and over is basically the cutoff.
But does that mean that that's making under 50,000 is not management, and somebody that's over 50,000, 51,000 is management?
By and large. Yep. By and large. William, you can back me up on that if you want.
To the chair. Sorry.
Well,
I
can
think,
I get can you give your opinion? I mean, you're the finance guru at
If you
this.
look at page 1 of the chart that I gave you, the last employee there, the last position there that has 50,000, that's eligible for, the next person right underneath them is 51,000. You see it on the chart?
Mhm.
So this person at 50,000 with the additional 2% would now go to 53,000, while the person underneath at 51 will go to 53,040 with the 4%. So I think that's what the concern is, that, you know,
Right.
when you cut it off at 50, what happens? Somebody making 51,
Yeah.
then the other person,
I,
it's,
that's my concern. I'm not in favor of doing that.
I mean, you either do 4%, or what you could do is say 5% for everybody.
Well, I mean, whatever it would cost to do this, if you extrapolate it over everybody, I'm just going to give as an example, right? And maybe it'll provide a little context, right? The governor a little while back said that he wanted starting teachers to make 47.5. So and that's under 50 here, and we're talking about a starting teacher, right? But even though you're talking about that doesn't mess with salary schedules, but if you have a teachers union and there's a collectively bargained salary schedule, and then the governor comes in and says, well, all starting teachers are going to make this, well, that just messed up your salary schedule, because that just messed up everybody's steps, because now like somebody's arbitrarily saying like, okay, well, I think the bottom needs to be this. So, I mean, it's the same kind of argument. My problem is with setting a number. And that's the problem with setting a number. But I don't feel like, if you were using some kind of data, like, you know, the national poverty line, or, you know, I don't know. It's just, this came up last minute. I had an issue with it because I thought it was arbitrary, and now we have it in front of us and it's arbitrary. So I feel like, you know, either we say, hey, and instead of everybody getting 4%, you get 4.25%. And then that way, there's going to be an issue, and somebody's going to be able to say that it's unfair, because for some people it is unfair. And I don't think we should be doing unfair things arbitrarily. I think that we should either, you know, do it for everybody or not.
I think one of the things to look at too is, one of the things that I had looked at is the hire dates, the variety of hire dates. You would think it's, you know, that everyone making a certain thing has just recently been hired, but that's not necessarily the case. As you go down, some of these people have been here, you know, 5-6 years, and others, you know, were recently hired. So there's a lot of difference even there. Because I know sometimes, you know, municipalities say, you know, anyone hired after this date, you know, doesn't get a raise, and anyone hired before gets a raise, or vice versa. But I don't even see a way to do
But
that.
William, if we give everybody 5, then that's going to cost more than what it would cost to give this 2% for the people 50,000 under, right? So I don't want to do that either. Like, I don't. And again, like, I get like, hey, we're just giving a nudge. We're already giving everybody a nudge. We're already giving everybody 4, when typically the COLA is 3. I mean, I'm not trying to be a, you know, like.
William, how long ago?
If you look at that number, I just, the two people we were just looking at, the 50,000 and the 51,000, the person at 50,000 that's going to go up to 53, their hire date is 2010. So they've been here 12 years. The next person that's going to be at 53,040 has been here since 2021. It's different positions, but it's still a factor.
So these are, how many people do we have here? Is it 64 employees, 54 employees?
54
We're talking about 54 employees that fall into
the
their
50
salary,
and under. And out of
their
those 54,
annual salary.
27 are public works.
Public works employees.
Through the chair, William, on those 2 employees I used for examples, they've been here for 10 years. Have they been on that COLA for 10 years as well?
If we've given, I think there was one year where we didn't give a COLA, but it's mostly been 3%. This all started a few years ago, and I think Councilman Best will remember. The city for many years had step increases plus COLAs. And a prior council a few years ago said no more step increases. Right. We'll just stick with an annual COLA. And that's been the process ever since. Right. But in the old days, what was happening is you were getting step increases plus on top of that COLAs. and the salaries were getting out of hand at that point. So then the council decided no more step increases. We'll just stick with an annual COLA. And that's what we've been doing, I would say, for at least 10 years.
It's been a while.
Have we ever had a different COLA for different people? Or has the COLA always been the same for everybody?
Same
Not
for
like a
everybody.
review.
And I feel like that just adds to the argument that like we shouldn't set that kind of precedent now. It's either everybody or none. Why are we just picking certain people?
Through the chair, and in the corporate world, I mean, a 4% is a blessing. You don't get that. You get 1%, 1.2. I can tell you, I worked for corporate. My husband works for corporate. You won't see something more than 2% nowadays. So I think whatever we implement, it has to be sustainable, and our account can handle it, because it starts building up pretty quick. I mean, $3,000 in 1 year. Imagine in 10 years, that's 30,000 amongst how many employees do we have? So, and then when you go up, it's kind of hard to come down. So I just.
William, how long ago, and most of these are public works and stuff, how long ago have we done an analysis to see, just not talking about COLAs, just the salaries themselves, which is what Councilman Vasquez, I think, was alluding to. The salaries themselves are
Competitive?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very strongly, we shouldn't, obviously the city of Miami Springs can't pay the highest salaries, compared to other municipalities, but we shouldn't be on the lowest end either. We should be pretty comparable, as to a good place to work, a friendly environment, and everything else, and a good, reasonable salary.
And the benefits.
And the benefits.
And the benefits, right.
Many
So,
cities do not pay for dependent insurance coverage. We do. We pay half. We pay 100% of the employee and 50% of the dependents. There are many cities, like, for example, where my wife works, they don't pay dependent coverage. And some cities don't even pay 100% of the employee.
No, you gotta pay to get in.
Right.
Well, getting back to your question, Mayor,
so how long ago was it that you say, looking at the majority, if I look at this list real quickly of, the 54 employees that are under, a lot of them are public works, that stands out. That these jobs, say in public works, have been looked at. And I mean, these are hard jobs. These are difficult jobs. It's not the kind of profession that I think most people, right off the bat think this is what they are going to go into, so I'm sure. And it takes an amount of professionalism, talent, definitely dedication, hard work to do this. And our residents and our services suffer if we don't have employees there filling these positions. So, but how long ago were these?
The last pay study that was done, like I was mentioning to you before, was at least before I got here. I think it was 2001, maybe before. And like I mentioned before, the results back then were that it was, I mean, the salaries were very low compared to, so nothing was done.
We couldn't get people to come to work for us.
Yeah.
So
It was that bad.
So through the chair. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that I'm picking up where you're raising this issue. I think it's an important one. I understand Councilman Fahed's concerns here, but just quickly doing my little gibberish here. It looks like about 54 employees, about 22, 23 make less than $40,000. Now, I don't know what the jobs are. Couldn't tell you, how competitive those numbers are. 38, 37, 32. And then, another 10 or more, actually a little bigger number, about 18 are making over between 40 and 49,000, right? So, and then the group of above 50 seems to be about 17 or something like that. So I think that if there has not been a review of salaries, kind of, what do people do? What are the salary ranges that we have? And what's competitive out there with other municipalities? I think that needs to be done. And I would really encourage us to look at that. Not tonight, obviously, but that's where I seem to see that and I understand the concern about, why be arbitrary, but 2% to someone who's making $28,000 right means more, I would say, but anyway, the point is, what Councilman Best has raised seems to me that there is some need to review our salary basis for the different sectors and classification of employees. And if it hasn't been done, and since before the city manager came on board, then maybe it's time to do that. And moving forward would be my
And
argument for it.
perhaps-
And there are no, so this is a little different than the teachers union and so forth, because they've got they got a union and they there's an administration and they do have some collective bargaining. We don't have that in the city, with the exception of the police force, I think, and the fire department. But I think it calls for a review.
And perhaps what we want to do, if it's too massive a review, and I know Councilman Best is concerned with, under 50,000, is a review for the ranges. I mean, obviously from looking here, we can see there's almost all of them are public works, some in the police. I'm guessing those might be like
It's a
dispatchers.
considerable number of
technicians.
public works, yeah.
Yes, but of any a study of salaries that are under 50,000, of a study to see if they're comparable with what the going rate is with other municipalities in South
Since
Florida.
since my original thought process led me to expand my request in front of you, distinguished colleagues. Mayor Mitchell just mentioned something a moment ago, which leads me to believe that maybe I should reconnoiter and step back and put the same suggestion forward, that only the 27 public works employees under 50,000. And leave it at that. I don't want to start a civil war here, but
Because it's unfair. That's why we don't do things that are unfair.
yeah, but no, just for that, because again, and the mayor just pointed out herself that that these are hard jobs and they're the least paid jobs in the city. And they're out there day in and day out in 100-degree heat, doing it for us to make the city look the way it does. And I think that they should be rewarded for that. And we haven't done that in a long time. And I think it's the time and place to do it. We have the money. And I think it's going to benefit the right people for the right reasons.
I would like to suggest, I think I don't like to make decisions like this when we're all back and forth talking, because you really haven't had chance to let it percolate. So I would like to suggest that we review this further, give us time to kind of consider it, to give it some thought. I can tell you, I certainly, am on both sides of the fence. I feel for anyone that's making under 50,000, that are performing the jobs that you could just see here. We don't have the exact names, but the types of work. And, they provide really valuable services, and our residents in our community will suffer if we don't have, persons in those positions, or if the turnover rate is great. I don't know if it is or isn't. We don't know. So does everyone kind of agree that you'd like a little more time to think about which way we're,
I've tried to look at it, Mayor, every which way but
I mean,
loose.
if
But
there's a motion and we'll vote on it. It's up to you guys.
I would like a little more. I don't want to do this and pull us out, on a 3-2 vote. That's not the way I want to proceed here. So I won't make a motion at this point. I'll take you up on your suggestion of allowing for some time to think about it for second reading.
Can we have this for the second reading, William? Just give us a little more time I think it's an important issue. It's a very, you've certainly given us something to give a lot of thought to.
I mean, at
Councilman?
this point, you can leave things as they are right now and not make any changes until
I think we have consensus that
meeting.
the other
Okay, I think the only
7 items-
consensus we definitely have is the batting cages. Let's go ahead and get those repaired and,
Yes.
That's 30, right?
30, right? But as far as the millage, then we don't really have to.
I would leave that the same, leave everything the same. Then the second meeting, I'll add in the 30,000 and then we'll discuss more
Okay.
about the.
And what I'd like to ask is for any of the council members, if you have questions, in the meantime regarding this, reach out to William and discuss them, because a lot of the stuff we kind of, need to, I know I do behind, I call him and I ask him on the phone and I go, tell me what this means and what, and a lot of issues so that when we come to the council meeting, the next one we have, I guess we'll have to make a decision. But again, Councilman Best, I really want to thank you for bringing this thought to us,
You're welcome, Mayor.
the need to think for, for all of our employees and particularly those that are financially probably struggling more than anyone. All right, so
Thank you, Mayor, for your consideration.
we'll move on that. I
So
mean, we'll
we
just,
need- We need to vote on the two,
We would need a
resolution.
motion.
okay,
because remember what happens now is whatever we approve tonight, we have to advertise it before the
right.
next meeting, so what's gonna go out in the advertising is the 6.99.
why
Is the number.
Mayor, why don't we just take a vote? What's going to change from now to next meeting on the issue? We're not giving the city any direction
I guess
to
that depends on.
come up
on-
with a different plan.
guess
We
that
either
dep-
voted yes or no. Let's vote it up or down. And it is what it is. I
well,
mean,
somebody have to make a motion.
you guys are the ones pushing it. You want to make a motion?
Well, you can make a motion of not doing that. Ooh.
So the motion would be to defer item 8 or to not approve item 8.
Well, it would be.
So I can motion to disapprove.
Well, it would be
the-
to approve the millage without,
Well, let's
I
put it
can't-
this way, if we take out the 2% and we add the batting cages, you can bring the millage down to 6.91.
So let me ask you another question. Let's turn, since it doesn't look like we're gonna have an answer on that. What, last year, I brought this up and I'd like to bring it again. The reserves. We have, if I have in my notes. So we have 6.4 million in reserves.
Last year, yeah.
Last year.
Okay. And so for the benefit of everybody, right? The Government Finance Officers Association recommends 15, that cities have 15% in reserves, which is and that's calculated 15%
Of your.
Of your-
budgeted expenses.
of your
general.
budgeted expenses. And then we as a city, that's what the Government Finance Officers Association recommends 15%. We as a city, a previous city council decided that we would have 25% as our reserves. So 25%. So if it were 15%, it would be 3 million in reserves. We have 25% in reserves, which is 4.9. And if we have 6.4 million in reserves, then why can't we tap into some of the overage of reserves to lower the millage?
6.44 million was last year, the end of last. fiscal
What are we
year.
projected to
Let's see
have?
What this fiscal year, because remember, in this fiscal year budget, we use part of the reserves to balance the budget. So that's why I mentioned to you that at the end of this year, we're probably gonna have 300,000 left over. And the reason is, as your general fund budget increases, your reserve requirement increases also. So last year, let's say as an example, 25% could have been 4.9 million. This coming year, 25% could be 5.5 million.
When will we know what that is, though?
Fiscal year ends September 30th, so we won't know till probably a couple of months after that.
Okay, so at the next meeting, when we go to, because I'd like to propose that we lower the millage rate as much as possible. And if we're gonna have an overage above and beyond the 25%, then I feel like that's something like we talked about that, we want to show everybody that we're trying to lower the millage rate as much as possible, right? I mean, what people that argue that we're just spendthrifts, right, are gonna say like, well, you're giving money to this organization, that organization, you're like deciding where things are gonna go. They could, cast they could say that we're being arbitrary, but if we have extra, unless you tell me there's absolutely no way to guesstimate how much we can have over that 25%. But if we have money in reserves that's over the 25%, which is already 10% over what the Government Finance Officers Association has, I feel like that should go to help lower the millage rate, because that's our first meeting as part of this budget process was talking about when we were setting the cap, everybody was like, we want to lower the millage rate. Right. So, and I know that we are lowering it, but why not lower it as much as we can, while still being responsible?
This is why I wouldn't do it this year. We have annexation coming up. We don't know when that's going to take, when it's approved, it's going to take effect next year, but we're going to have to start early next year, hiring people, getting them on board and all that. We're going to need money for that. And our thinking is, since we won't get any revenues until October 1st of next year, we're going to need some of that reserve to cover some of those costs. Number two, I don't think the last time this was done was when we sold water and sewer to the county. And I think Councilman Best was on council. And the city generated a huge profit when that was sold. And that 1 year, I think they took $750,000 and lowered the millage one time.
It dropped dramatically.
And what happened 2 years after that? Millage rate had to be
kicked up
raised again because of the one time.
Couldn't afford
And
to
that's
run
why,
the city.
you can take reserves now and lower the millage, but next year you're going to have to raise them because you're going to have to make up your reserves. So that's why I don't think that's a.
But I would never propose that we go under in our reserves, because I know that you have to build it back up by our own city ordinance. Question: what would our current millage is 7.2095. What was the cap that we set? 6.9.
6.99.
6.99. I know that 6.88 is a balanced budget, no surplus, but only 1 through 7. So not doing the
Not the
additional
2%
2%
and not the
COLA
batting cage.
and not the batting cage. So what would it be? Balanced budget,
And the batting
no surplus, and the batting cage, which is a safety.
9-1.
6.91. Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve a budget with a millage rate of 6.91.
To the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Really quick. I think unless it was updated, we have in the general fund, after paying out our employee salaries and benefits, we're at 7.4, including the 25% government reserve. So our unrestricted general fund is actually 5.2, correct? Not 3 point
What are
something.
you looking at?
I'm looking at the first agenda memorandum that
Okay.
you gave us.
Let me just, we have a
What?
motion. Is there a second right
With
now?
this, a second
Oh.
with discussion. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure that if we have more, we have more. I just want to clarify the number.
I don't see.
I don't know what you're
It says here, the total on the August 15th agenda memorandum inside
Right.
of the budget.
Right.
If you look down to general fund, it says budget is 20.1 million, of which 12.7 million represents 63%. You see it? And then this leaves us at 7.4.
Right. That has nothing to do with.
No, I
reserves.
know, but we were talking about, it
Reserves.
left us with reserves of 6.4. We're not at 6.4.
6.4.
Didn't you mention something about 6.4?
No, he's talking about the reserves that we have.
Right.
This has nothing to do with
Oh,
reserves.
okay.
Right. Yeah, the 6.4 I was mentioning is in 1.5, which shows.
That
our-
was at the end of last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
William,
So
Got it.
for Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
William, for purposes of motions and things like that, since we do have to adopt the millage first and then the budget,
Okay.
on item 8A, I think what the vice mayor's motion would be to adopt the millage rate at the 6.91,
Mhm.
which would provide for including the batting cages in the budget and excluding the 2% COLA. So the vote would be on a 6.91 mil, and then we'd have to, do we have what the rollback rate would be on that?
Going to be 6.91 is going to be 4.14% lower than the rollback rate.
Lower?
Lower. Or higher, I'm sorry, higher than the rollback rate.
And the rollback rate remains at 6.63.
Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
change.
I
Changes.
didn't think so, but just checking. Okay, so Vice Mayor, if I can sort of reframe your motion.
Please.
It would be a motion to adopt item 8A, setting the millage. And it would be a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2022-2023 in the amount of 6.91 mils, which is 4.14% higher than the rollback rate of 6.6352 mils to balance the general fund for fiscal year 2022-2023 and providing for an effective date. So there was, I think that's the vice mayor's motion. I don't know if there was a second on that.
I second the motion.
We have a second, and just to put a bow on the discussion, at least from my part. So what I'm understanding about what I just motioned, what was seconded by Councilwoman Bravo, is that we'd be lowering the millage rate by about 0.29 and paying for the 30,000 for the batting cages, which is a safety issue. This is as low as the millage rate can go while still balancing the budget and without tapping into the reserves, which for reasons that the city manager mentioned that makes sense is not prudent to go into those reserves. This is as low as it's going to go. If we do that additional 2% increase, and we're going to have to raise the millage rate. It's not going to go any lower than this without doing that additional 2%.
That's not true.
Correct? It can't, the millage rate can't get any lower. Like if we do the additional, this is as low as it can go. Without while still balancing the budget, without going to the reserves, which isn't prudent, right? So if we do that additional 2% increase, the millage rate will only go up from here if we continue to have a balanced budget.
Well, like
Right?
I said, you probably need a millage rate of 6.93.
6.93. So that's my motion stands and it's second.
6.93 would still reduce it by 0.06 from what we had established as a ceiling.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
None.
So with this millage rate, we are in essence agreeing that there won't be the 2% raise, COLA raise for employees,
Correct.
correct? Everyone understands that?
Mhm.
Okay, William, this, I would still love to go under 6.9. If we were to go 6.899 to just lower it actually one whole point, because we had voted on 6.99,
Then you have to go into reserves.
then we have to go into the
Right.
reserves. Okay, well, if that's the best we can do.
I mean, 6.91
One is good.
is the lowest, I think, since 2011 or 2012.
Well, I think it was 12.
Okay, any further discussion?
And it's gonna go a lot down.
Sure.
For the
Yes.
next year.
William, I'm glad you brought that up about that we're going to have some expenses.
Yeah,
with
no,
the
I respect
annexation,
that.
with the
That makes
properties
sense.
and all
That makes
this. So,
sense.
this
There's
is being
uncertainty
very,
about what that's going to cost.
I think this is, we're being
Let's
very
hope we don't have a
responsible.
hurricane that
Sure.
comes
Sure.
Right, right. End of September, I don't know.
Through the season.
All right, call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Best,
Nay.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
No.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right.
Now we got
Um,
8B though.
Yeah, we still have it.
On 8B, there was on Exhibit A, Erica.
It's on page 31 of the agenda.
31.
Make a quick change for me on general fund. The new number is going to be 20,233,619.
Can you repeat that, William?
20,233,619 on both sides. And then the total is going to be 28,063,721.
Can you repeat that?
28,063,221.
28,063,721.
31.
So exhibit A, the general fund would go to 20,233,619, and the total would be 28,063,721.
No, it's in your packet. It's part of the.
And that's, William, just to make it clear, that's to include the budgeting for the
Batting cage.
park fence, the bank.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we need to take a vote on the other
Do we need a motion? to approve
resolution?
Yes,
AP?
situation,
Yes,
yes.
on item eight.
Motion to approve AP?
And my
Approved.
apologies, public hearing.
Oh.
We missed that on the last vote.
Yes,
I'm
we did.
sorry. So
Okay,
let's reopen, item 8A and 8B for public hearing.
absolutely. Thank you. We are open for a public hearing for items 8A and B. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Is there anyone virtually, Erica?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And then we need to still take a vote on 8B. Is that correct, Heidi?
Yes.
Yes,
All right. Is there a
And-
motion for,
I'll second that.
and just to,
I made the motion to approve AP.
I'm gonna read it again, just since it is budget season.
Mhm.
This is item 8B, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, confirming the date of the second public hearing and providing for an effective date. We've amended Exhibit B as stated, and the second public hearing will be on September 26th at 7 PM here in council chambers.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pahet,
Yes.
Councilman Best,
Nay.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right. We moved to the consent agenda, which we've done both of those. So we'll go to new business, item 11A. And it's an ordinance, the first reading.
Yes. This is an ordinance of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, amending section 31-11 purchasing, procurement and sale procedures of the city's code of ordinances to update the city's procurement provisions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. I know that William had shared with you the backup a couple of weeks ago so that you could take a look at the draft ordinance. And I don't know if you have any questions or commentary on what's proposed. Effectively, what the ordinance does is it allows the city to continue performing its procurement in an efficient manner. It increases the delegation of authority from 25,000 to 100,000 so that anything up to $20,000 would continue to require. Currently, you have an up to $10,000. You have to get 3 quotes and the manager can purchase it. This would increase the 10,000 to 20,000. And then anything above 20,000 and over, between 20,000 and 100,000 would also require 3 quotes, but would come to you for approval. So currently anything over 10,000 comes to you for approval. This would increase it to anything over 20,000 would come to you for approval. It also increases the threshold of when something needs to go to a competitive formal bid. What I see is in cities that are small and have less resources and less staff, it's a lot more flexible to be able to obtain things using 3 quotes as opposed to going through a formal competitive sealed bid process. We also do have the ability to continue to use what we often use, which is piggyback contracts, utilizing the competitively bid and awarded contracts from other cities. So we get to take advantage of the pricing that other cities have obtained by going out to bid recently. And so we're able to access those contracts anyway. So there's not a change on your ability to do that. This is really just changing some of the thresholds on how you obtain quotes and when things need to come to you. So it still requires council approval for anything over 20,000. And it still requires the city to get 3 quotes. It's just increasing those thresholds from 10,000 to 20. Are there any questions?
Any questions? I have one. So, for instance, and I think it's reasonable, totally reasonable that, under 10,000, I mean, so many of these things are waiting for a council meeting on the second or fourth Monday of the month where, if it wasn't waiting for that, it's a nominal cost, relatively speaking, and something that the city needs. And the city manager can just go ahead and authorize that. So for instance, with this procurement item for Click See Fix, that's
Yes.
15,000.
Mhm.
That then would not come through us? Or that would still,
No,
because it's
because
15,000.
under the 20,000.
So that would not come to us. So I'm just curious on something like that, like a project like that, which is something new to kind of, I mean, and I'm totally worthwhile, I think it's very worthwhile. Would you just let us know later that we've purchased that, or how would we?
In a case like that, if it came up again, I would have brought an item to council and explained what the system is, what we wanted to do and all that, and get consensus. Because it's something that's going to affect the residents of the city. And I know you're going to be involved with that app too, because you're going to be getting a lot of messages. So it would be something that we will bring to council and give you an idea of what systems are out there, which direction you would, what we're talking about is emergency stuff mainly.
Day-to-day
yeah,
operation for a public operation.
it's a problem with nowadays with inflation. Anything is over $10,000 anymore. I mean, anything, you do some road work or anything, and it's all, the prices are through the roof. And it's very time consuming for procurement to be having on some of these things to do. For example, right now we have to go to RFP if it's over 25,000. Well, that's almost anything you do is going to be over 25,000. To do an RFP is tedious process. It involves staff time, city attorney time, and it's so I think the reasoning behind this is just to improve the efficiency.
I
And-
do
and
want to
William-
add.
And my understanding, Heidi and William, is that you surveyed other cities in South
Yes.
Florida to get an idea that, of where they are with these limits, with the procurement and all this, and this is pretty consistent.
And I think
then
it's in
with
your
what-
packet too. We provided examples of what other cities are doing.
So that.
And I do want to make a clarification. You do have the ability, when there's an emergency, the manager already has, and I know we're in like the height of hurricane season, so that word becomes a lot more, people start paying a lot more attention to emergencies. But the manager does have the ability to make certain emergency purchases, even in excess of these amounts, so long as he reports back to you, and your code already provides that. I think for a situation like Mayor Mitchell was just raising about the Civic Plus program, I'm sorry?
It's an agreement, so it would
It-
typically come back.
Yeah, especially, there's a lot of especially these software agreements, I am very cautious of them because they do tend to tie the city to all sorts of terms. So you can ask William and Tammy, I start asking all sorts of questions because they really try to lock you in. So we do like to bring those agreements to you for your consideration and that you have in the backup. So oftentimes you'll see that we have these resolutions, you're approving the purchase, but you're also approving the terms of the purchase. So, and I think when we have something as complex as this, especially when we have contracts that are for over a year, we usually bring those.
Which this one is. This
Right.
one is the first
Exactly.
year. It's multi-year, so I'll bring it to you anyway, because not only because of that, but this is something that the mayor and I have been talking about, these apps that other cities are using. So it would, I would normally bring it to you and something like that, so that council can. I mean, before we did this one, we looked at 3 other companies that do apps. I know you had asked me about that. And the other 2 were way outrageous. The pricing was, what was it, double?
Yeah, and they were charges per user. This one.
This one we have unlimited users.
I mean, I think everyone is in agreement and our residents are that, we need to figure out a way to streamline, their eyes and ears, and we're always telling us, tell us so that, if you notice something, because we may not know about it, we may be working on it, but we may not. So making it easier for them to be our eyes and ears and report, and that we're working on all of this together as, one community is really important. So hopefully this will do it. As far as the terms and agreements for that though, you've looked them over and you feel they're reasonable. I'm guessing, given I know technology, I know these apps.
To the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve 11A.
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Fahet.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
Let's get to the fun part now.
Yes. Discussion on our 100th year celebration committee process.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have a memo that I prepared for you. Let me just read it and then we can go into the specifics. In order to have sufficient time to prepare for the city's 100th birthday celebration, which, by the way, I'm taking Heidi's advice and we're renaming it the Centennial Celebration.
For
instead of the
Centennial
100th
Committee.
birthday.
100.
So that you got a trademark on that.
Centennial Committee.
Okay.
On August 23rd, 2026, council has requested to discuss the process and steps that need to be taken in order to establish a committee to plan the events for that celebration. Staff has the following suggestions. Number one, establish a committee with each council member appointing the members to the Centennial Celebration Planning Committee. Council needs to decide how many members will make up the committee and how many members each council person will appoint. Number two, establish a timeline for the committee to do their work and report back to council with their recommendations. Since we are 4 years away, the committee may decide to meet 2 or 3 times a year for the first 2 or 3 years. Then as we get closer, increase meetings to a monthly basis. Establish a scope of work for the committee. A, provide recommendations to council to include a list of activities and when these will occur. For example, during the entire month of August 2026 or during the entire year and culminating the weekend of August 23rd, 2026. B, recommendation for decorations, promotions, etc. within the city to celebrate the centennial birthday. C, estimated budget cost. D, obtain public input during these meetings, residents, business owners, civic groups, etc. And E, soliciting sponsorship opportunities from local businesses to be part of the celebration while at the same time promoting their business. And that's some of the scope of work we have, and I know Heidi has prepared a resolution, I guess, for establishing the committee.
We have a draft resolution ready that, based on the feedback that we received from the council tonight, we'll bring back at the next meeting. So I know that the mayor and Councilman Vasquez have been really interested in this. So I would like feedback so that I can just formulate that resolution. It does incorporate what the managers just read into the record, but I would need to know, similar to how we did with the task force for business and economic development, how many members would you like on the committee? Would you like 5 members? 11 members? Would you like only residents? Would you like residents and business owners? Would you like a council appointment or liaison to the committee? All of these things, and taking into consideration that this is a committee that will continue for several years.
Okay, any discussion, any Councilman Vasquez, do you have anything? Because I know you're kind of the one that has the most ideas on this.
Sure.
Well, for sure, the one that has the most ideas.
So
on this.
I did some preliminary work months ago. I began just arbitrarily looking for, searching for centennial celebrations in Florida. And, we're one of the oldest cities, so it wasn't like there were a whole lot of them, but 4 or 5 that I looked at, including preparations for Coral Gables, City of Miami, and a couple up in West Palm Beach. There is a variety of ways that they've that they've handled this. So I think that this is good. That number one, I didn't see anything from any of those cities where planning started this early. So I think that's a good step to begin. Then that was my first argument when I first talked about this last year was, let's get, early, right? 4 years, right? It's like, it's around the corner. Secondly, I think that I would lean towards a little bit bigger group than 5. I'm just concerned that when you're going to have meetings and 2 people can't make it, and then you got 3, but I think that the more thinking you have on the committee is good. So I would, we can do 10 or 11 with the mayor having the third nomination, similar to the Economic Development Task Force. And the oddity, or the one case that I saw that was really different than anywhere else, is the city of Coral Gables. They just hired someone, a communications group to organize the whole thing. And that was it. They just said, here's the contract, and run with it, bring us back reports. So we're going to do it a little bit different, and we have, because we are different. And so I think that the things that William has outlined here are excellent. I think the single most important thing that I found from all of the cities that planned this was to decide on what the celebration would look like, right? And that drives budget and resources and so forth and so on. And so I think that the sooner a group of folks can help determine, by getting all the input and so forth, determining here's what we'd like to see. For example, one city had, I forgot what date it was, but it might have been mid-year. They had a celebration each month before. And in other words, they had an event every month leading up to the 2-day or 3-day celebration. And some folks just had the celebration. And so I think that we might kind of split it and say, well, our celebration is going to be August 26th. Help me here.
23rd.
It's actually a week. It's actually a Sunday. The day of is a Sunday. So that whole weekend could be, one big celebration, and maybe a couple of things leading up to it. But the good thing is that we've got a weekend. So I think William had suggested that even the third, the day of, it could be some fireworks in addition to whatever things we decide to do. So, there wasn't a lot to pick from in terms of developing the model, because we don't have that many cities that have celebrated centennials. So we have a sandbox to play with, but I think we have some parameters. And of course, we have budget processes every year. So it's important to develop this first year. What do we want? What is it going to cost? What are the contours of it? I would, and I'd like to see this flexibility is in this particular celebration. I don't think all of it should be just residents. I think we really ought to look at some folks, like we did for the task force, a couple of people who have some. I'm thinking about Dr. Paul George, right? Who's Mr. Miami and Mr. History, to provide input, right? To be part of this. I don't know that he would be available, but anyway, those are, generally speaking, the thoughts that I had, the things, what I learned about looking at other cities and what I know about Miami Springs. And clearly, whatever we do as a celebration, in my humble opinion, really needs to focus on Glenn Curtis and his role and his vision, and lots of other components. But I think honoring him because of his, I don't know if he's got family still, but I think it would be lovely to have them as part of descendants of him as part of the celebration, and bring one of his Jennies, one of the planes he used to fly, and a couple of those motorcycles that he designed, because it's so good. But anyway, I'm getting into the weeds here, but a central figure like Curtis should be one of the driving points of this. So that would be my thought. A little bit bigger committee and a combination of people for the committee. And again, they're only going to meet like a couple of times this year, 2-3 times, to do all these things that William outlined in terms of, this time next year, what's the plan now going forward in terms of design and fundraising for this
If
event?
we were to select the committee Now, does it have to be the type of committee that I know our advisory committees are, if there's not a quorum, they can't meet? Because or can it be another kind of committee where not so dependent on them having a quorum to meet? Because I think that's one of the things, unfortunately,
Happened
like
to the
with
task force,
the
yeah.
business and but other meetings too, they're canceling them because, at the last minute, one of the members, with all the best intentions, just can't make it. And then there's not a physical quorum.
So a couple of things on the quorum issue. I'll confirm that the code doesn't have any quorum requirements, but you can also normally you have a quorum being the majority of the members. So if you have a 10-person board, you need 6. We can reduce that by resolution, assuming that your code doesn't preclude you from doing that. So we could do that. Of course, unless formal action is being taken, you can always conduct a meeting anyways and just have discussion and just no formal action if you don't have a quorum. So that there's that option. I did want to not forget to mention, Councilman Vasquez, you mentioned two things that brought to mind some past history for me with charter commissions. So when in charter commissions, we would like to have an expert come in and give some guidance, we'll invite someone for that evening. And sometimes they'll come back once or twice or even more, depending on the need. So with someone like Paul George, to the extent that perhaps he can't commit to being on a task force or something like that, perhaps the committee can invite him. And I'm just using him as an example to carry through, but that's an option. And then there's nothing to say that the committee could suggest that the city hire a social media and marketing company to help
Absolutely, yes.
execute in the future.
I agree. There should be
So
some compensations here, even for somebody like Paul George, but yes.
So, so those are things that can come as a result of the committee's discussions, of course.
I think the other thing
through the
too,
chair.
Councilman, is, and everything you mentioned is excellent. Plus what William, I agree with you, what William's put together and what Heidi's suggesting. Personally, I would like to see a celebration the entire year. I think, one weekend is more like a,
Me too.
River Cities type thing. And this should be something, and like you said, it might be events leading up to that year, but the committee
Can I just
will be deciding
add,
that. Yes,
because
sir.
I discussed this with William, and William actually suggested specifically we could kick off the year with celebrations, and periodic celebrations throughout the year. In other words, it's the beginning of the centennial year.
Yes,
So
and
I
that draws
agree.
attention, showcases our
In
city
the
and our
yes.
historic, foundation and everything. So, it for the businesses and everything, it's just a way to draw attention to the city and celebrate our 100-year history. But let's do this. Let's go ahead. I don't think it's that early, to tell you the truth, because we're at the end of 2022. Now the holidays and all this are coming. To get a committee to just start, something like this needs some time to figure out, get a general
Yes.
plan. And
Well,
we're going to need probably some seed money to provide them down the road for, as it gets closer. I'm guessing that'll be into next budget, but there's going to have to be some seed money for the celebration. So do y'all want to go ahead and let's decide on how many committee members, and then we appoint them on our own? But I will tell you from experience with the Business and Economic Development Task Force, we had decided on 2 members apiece to give it more depth, I guess, more breadth, depth. And, like happens with advisory committees, some start at the beginning, but they just, a year is a long time for them to have that commitment. So there's a lot of members there that aren't participating any longer. So I'm not sure if a smaller committee to get started might work better. I'm totally open to, these are just thoughts I'm throwing out.
So through the chair, I've had some thoughts on this. I think that maybe the way to go is to establish the committee to get this going. In other words, don't do a 4-year appointment of committee members, but rather 1 year to get things going so that we can revisit, because I think we certainly found ourselves in the situation of the Economic Task Force, and that was only 1 year, having to appoint some other folks. I know I had to both of my initial appointments resigned for different reasons. And I think that created some difficulty. So I think I would be inclined, Mayor, to your thinking that this might be a smaller committee. It may take a bigger committee, the next time, once things have been established or some ideas have been taken, just so that they're able to meet and get some things going. So I would be inclined to that.
And
I think we
and
might need a little bigger one.
down the road
The
and
second year, or
to get-
third year.
and I like the idea of a council liaison, to be on it, which personally, I think you would be the best council liaison, but I think that does take, someone on the council to kind of, be communicating with them and, getting feedback and, answering any of their questions.
Okay.
Is that something you would consider?
One way or another.
Through the chair.
Well, I think for right now, it's, to get started, if we're gonna vote, it gives them some
Me-
leeway.
Before you make your decision,
I'm done
let me see if
making-
I can alleviate you a little bit.
Yes, that's why I said one way or the other.
I think it's always great to have a committee in support of items like these, but I think that maybe this type of event that it's supposed to be a very, to me, big and a beautiful recognition of our founder. I think maybe perhaps for this type of celebration, I would like to see if we can maybe look into, I'm not saying we're Coral Gables because we're not, but I would like to start this celebration off with a bang. And as much as I appreciate our volunteers, but like Mayor said, the quorum could be an issue, or maybe it's just a back and forth of ideas. I don't want to stress out our volunteers, but I would like to see what we can do for our city, using someone that does events like these so that we don't miss any corner of bringing out what we want to show and showcase our community. I just want to give it a very good impression and bang of our 100 years. So I would like to not try and lack anywhere. If we can maybe get somebody to prefer, and then they would go around to the businesses, talk to our residents. They would be doing all of that. I don't know how much that would cost. I know it's a big production. What we're trying to do here is a big production and it takes a lot of time. And I would just like to see what we can do, getting somebody that would actually put this event for us together. And if mayor and council wants to celebrate that, what is it, the whole year coming up too? I mean, that's a lot of work and a lot of little things to consider. So I would like to see what somebody could come in here and help, what they could do for us in our city to become recognized and to honor our founder in a very enlightening way, and for our community members to experience that, because I'm all about the community and the mom and pop 100%. But when it comes to big items like this, I think even our community volunteers would be appreciative of that as well. Like, okay, we would like to help, but we really want someone to
Like a consulting firm.
Right.
and execute.
Can you find out with City of Coral Gables? Can we find out what that costs? Now, keep in mind, we just approved a budget. We don't have a budget for this till next year.
Right.
So that means that's cutting out a whole year of doing this, waiting to,
So
because I'm guessing they're not doing it for, $3,000 or something. This is going to
No,
be
no, no.
in the
This
very
is-
high. So this would be a big
Yes.
budget item.
We could do this as a revenue sort of thing as well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things happening.
Well, perhaps maybe sort of hearing the varying viewpoints, perhaps you have a committee that starts a small committee to give some initial ideas, and Tammy and William, don't
Look at what
work with me here, but perhaps we can do a solicitation, an RFP for consultants, because we don't know what we want, right?
Exactly, that's the.
And so have a consultant or consultants give proposals based on maybe this limited feedback from this initial committee, like, here's what we would like to see. And then we ask for proposals based on that, and you can select a consultant to carry that out, and it wouldn't come through until next budget year.
Okay.
But at
Correct.
least you start getting that ball
Yeah, I
rolling.
mean, we've never
and it-
ventured that avenue.
Through
you
the
know, so I
chair.
wanna-
I think it would help. I think, well, Coral Gables celebrations in 2 years, right?
No, theirs is the same as ours.
Is it the same as yours? Ours, I thought it was a year before. Anyway,
I thought they were 1920. I think Hialeah is the year
Hialeah is one
before
year,
as
1 year
well.
before. us.
1 year before. Okay, so I'm confused. But anyway, I think it's good to, this might be a good call from you to the mayor and see what they're doing. Find out who they're working with. But anyway, I agree on having consultants. There's no question that this kind of celebration requires the very best we can do for the money that we can put together. There's
Well,
no
I
question in
can
my
tell you this, we've got somebody in the city employ right now that specializes in this. And she has for many years, Julie Arias.
Yeah.
That's her business. And she's the manager of the Curtis Mansion.
Okay, so let's do this. I think we need to appoint a committee. I certainly don't want to wait a year till we have in our budget. And if we talk for proposals right now, it's not going to mean anything, whatever they tell us it costs, because
We haven't budgeted.
We have a budget.
right, you know what I'm saying? In 9 months, the price could be totally different, or they're not out of business, or they no longer do that, or they're already too committed. So, let's go ahead and appoint a committee, and I don't think we need to appoint it now. We need to think of someone, but, agree on, give Heidi some direction on an ordinance, and then the committee itself would be the ones to kind of, as I think Heidi or Councilman Vasquez suggested, talk with the consultants, let them know this is kind of what we're looking for, and then they could prepare something to show us. But again, I wouldn't, if they want to spend their time showing us now, I mean.
What I was recommending, Mayor, is that the committee put together their vision and the committee's vision for what they would like to see. And then that vision would be incorporated into a solicitation that the city would put out saying, we are seeking proposals from qualified event planners, marketing companies that will carry out this vision, plus whatever else they recommend, and then bring in those proposals. And the committee could actually review those proposals once they come in and help provide
And
feedback
make recommendations.
and
to
make
the council.
recommendations before the council makes a
I think that's a
decision.
great idea. So let's.
And just to add on that a little bit, if I may, Mayor,
Mhm.
is that that part of it be ready for right before the next budget,
Right.
before August, in other words, by the summer, so that when the council sits to do its budget, it already has
Mhm.
something to work with.
Okay, so let's agree on how many committee members.
1, 2, 3,
I'm open to.
at least 9 or 11.
9, I thought we were
We have
gonna go
9 chairs.
smaller.
Why are you saying 9?
9? No, I said that, I think it was 5.
Oh, it's 5.
I thought smaller to begin.
All to start.
Oh,
I think one
Okay.
each.
One each.
That we
One
can
each.
yeah, 1
switch.
each. That would
That's
be,
it.
that'd be
Yeah.
Be a good
And,
start.
A city, William, you'll appoint a city liaison to. And Councilman Vasquez, for right now, you'll
gonna
be
be-
our,
we're
I
gonna be
know
two.
you're resigning in
You have, what, like
November, but
another- you
for
have
right
like
now,
Another 9 or 10 weeks, you want to be on the committee.
well, just to help.
Oh, no,
get
just
it
to help
un-
get it going. I
underway
mean,
and-
Be on it after you.
once I become a public citizen. Anyway, no, but I mean, I think I think it's, we need to get it up and running soon. And we also need to give the committee instructions, right? To say that by,
So if
June
we,
30th.
if we appoint someone, we'll let Erica know our appointee. And then you'll know when all the positions are filled, and you can kind of decide when this first meeting should be. How's that with the
fine.
committee? With you and Erica to get started. Does that seem reasonable, or we need to wait for the ordinance first, Heidi?
So
Next.
what I'm planning to do is bring a resolution at the next meeting. It's already in
Bring a
draft form.
resolution.
yes,
And we'll have how many members are going to be there. We can include the proposed committee members at that meeting. That's fine. One of the things that I'm considering is with the Economic and Development Task Force, we asked them to provide a report by a date certain.
yes,
If we intend to have a solicitation go out with their vision, and we need that before next budget cycle, and in order to sort of keep them on track and not overcommit them, perhaps we have them meet beginning maybe January and February, give us their vision so that we can incorporate that into something by March, get a solicitation issued, have them hear it maybe April, May, in time for us to get pricing by perhaps June and have an idea, and that way carry it through. And that way you're not having 12 meetings throughout
No.
time frame and you're just focused.
And you wanted to have it before council, before, June 30th, because council doesn't meet in July, right? And-
So are we
lose a whole
saying
month
though,
there.
we're going to appoint someone, but they're not going to start meeting till January?
I just threw out January.
Because I think meeting January, February, 2 months, given
But
our
you can
past
have it earlier.
experience, they need more
No,
time.
I think,
to
well,
kind of
I
get
think
meetings.
you mentioned, Mayor, your idea, the idea was for them to meet at least 3 times, right, before they have to do any reporting. So they could start working, December 1st or whatever.
Right,
November,
whatever, in the
December, I mean, it's
fall,
gonna be-
councilman,
Yes,
if
whatever
you,
the-
we'll let you kind of decide as to once everyone's appointed, what you
Sure.
think is reasonable with you and Heidi, but I think at least meeting before the year ends once and
Absolutely.
knowing, and starting to
Absolutely.
gel
Yeah, no,
ideas.
you don't want to get into
Okay.
the holiday season and then.
Okay, do we need a vote on this, Heidi, or it's consensus?
No,
Yeah.
I'll bring back something at the next meeting and we'll. If you can just let Erica know, we're gonna go with the 5 committee members and 1 council liaison. So if you can just give her those and we'll include them in the resolution. It'll be really formal and they'll be part of the Centennial Committee. It's
Wonderful.
exciting.
Okay. That will be something I know
Oh,
we'll all be
yeah.
looking forward to and,
Kidding. Yes.
all right, so other business, none, reports from our city attorney.
No, Mayor, I know, you and the council may be inquiring about annexation. I don't know if William has any more up-to-date information than what we received, I think, Friday evening. But we are waiting on the county to provide us the documents. They are still trying to push it so that we can get it on before November. But we are still waiting.
We
for
don't
those.
have a date yet.
We don't have a date and we don't have documents to review yet.
Okay,
No
Thank
matter what,
you.
I'm gonna show up to that thing.
huh?
I don't care when the date is. I'm going. I'll be there.
All right, city manager,
Nothing from me, Mayor. Yeah, we need.
assistant.
Food drive on Saturday, September 17th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Miami Springs Community Center. It's first come, first served basis. And we just have, we're encouraging everybody to sign up, whoever wants to attend the farewell evening honoring Commissioner Rebecca Sosa. And make sure that they RSVP for that event.
And those tickets are complimentary. You just have to RSVP to get a free ticket, right? So, or free tickets.
And then also, we have the breast cancer screening and Zumba classes that are Saturday, October 1st, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Zumba is at 10:30 a.m. at the Miami Springs Community Center. That's it.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay, city council, let's start with our vice mayor.
Just want to say thank you to everybody, because I think the budget process turned out smoothly and we were able to lower the millage rate. So happy to be a part of that, and just a day removed, but just my thoughts yesterday were on the commemoration of 9/11, and obviously that's something that we never want to be too far out of sight and out of mind. Thank you.
You want to mention Dr. Montoya's talk?
Sure. For anyone who is available tomorrow evening at 7:00, Dr. Rolando Montoya, former president of Miami-Dade College, is going to be doing a talk about Pedro Pan. And that's going to be at AIE Charter School is hosting it. It is an event that the Miami Springs Historical Society is putting on. They brought him in as a speaker. It will start at 7 p.m. He will be giving his talk, and then guests will walk across the street to the Historical Museum for refreshments and to check out the museum.
Hey, Councilman Vasquez.
Yes, I'm glad Councilman Fahad mentioned the 9/11. So somewhere along, I heard this, and it's more recently that to remembering people is, and I don't know if this is an indigenous practice somewhere in the world, but to mention their names is a way of remembering. And so, 9/11 for me as all Americans was just such a devastating day. And for years, and I may have mentioned this before here in council, being a native New Yorker, it was always in the back of my mind that I often wondered if I knew someone who perished that day. And on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, my son Victor and I were watching a documentary. It was the 10th anniversary, and I think it was PBS did it, and they selected 10 individuals for the 10th anniversary. They selected 10 different individuals from different parts of 9/11. So the towers, the Pentagon, the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, and they're highlighting on one individual who was a New York City Port Authority supervisor, who had on that day with his immediate boss shot right up through the building, getting people out, and they accredited, both of them accredited with saving 77 people. And as they got the last group moving down, someone came down and said, there's some people stuck on the 80th floor. They were on the 70-something floor. And they went back, and that was the last time anyone saw them alive. And so they're talking about this guy, Pablo Ortiz, and the name rings a bell. And I'm sure, picture of me 50 years ago is going to look very different, but the name sounded familiar, and I started piecing it together, and it turns out that Pablo Ortiz and I knew each other. We weren't like buddies, but his older brother Luis married my best friend Jose's sister. So there was some, and it was, it really brought it home to me, right? Because now I have an individual reference. And I thought about yesterday as I was at an event, and they had a moment of silence to remember 9/11, that I thought, maybe I'm going to try to reach out his family and see if I can let them know that among all the people that think about him, there's this other guy that we only competed in baseball. He was a pitcher and I was a catcher with different teams. In a couple of years, we competed in baseball. This is while we were high school age, and we just didn't see each other again. He had gone off to Vietnam as a Navy SEAL and had survived that, and raised his family and did this really heroic thing. I can't think of myself not only running into the building, but doing what they did. One of the things that he did was there was a door that would not open, and he was able to open it with a jack, and the people that survived that. So anyway, it's important. Like I always do on Veterans Day, I remember Wilbur Dupre, who was my neighbor and was killed in Vietnam, on Memorial Day, killed in Vietnam while I was in basic training. 19 years old. And I know Pablo had a family as well. So, someone yesterday mentioned, we got to do this more often and remind. So 21 years, people kind of tend to forget. 9/11 becomes further and further away. And so I think it's important. And I appreciate the councilman raising it, that we need to always continue to talk about it. So that's my thought for tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Bravo?
No, I have nothing to report other than thank you for a productive meeting once again. I'm glad that we're able to help out our residents one more time. And also I want to remember recognition of 9/11 as well. And I would also like to send prayers to the family of Lucy Fernandez. Today was her funeral mass service. And I would also like to pray for the 3 girls still in critical condition. And it was just very beautiful watching the whole community just stop and pause and reflect. It was, it's always eye-opening. But that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Best.
To Walton, Victor's comments on 9/11, there was a very, very good 60 Minutes last night did a tremendous hour production on just 9/11. It was most enlightening. It was mainly the human interest stories of these guys that were involved in this. And yeah, like you guys said, it's something that we should not go forward and forget. And other than that, nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, and all I have is just wanted to ask to follow up with this pay study. Are we kind of just left it there, but that perhaps, William, you can come back to us and give us an idea of what it would cost. Is there a cost? I don't know if that's something we do internally or outside, a pay study, at least for the employees under 50,000, where the starting salaries are under 50,000, to make sure. And it seems like it's public works employees, where we are with that compared to other cities. Is if it's been over 20 years since we've done that, it's probably time to do that. Things have definitely changed. And then the other thing is I wanted to remind everyone about the farewell evening, the lovely evening that we're going to have at the beautiful Curtis Mansion for our Commissioner Rebecca Sosa, who's termed out. So it's on Wednesday, September 28th. And it'll be from 7 to 9, a cocktail reception. All Miami Springs residents are invited to attend. It's a complimentary tickets, but you do have to reserve because space is limited at the mansion. So you have to reserve your ticket through the links on our website and on our social media. If you don't have website or social media, please call our city and one of us will work you through to make sure we have reserved tickets for you. And then the last thing is I wanted to congratulate all of us because last year we did the rollback tax rate, which was pretty historical. We went to that. And this year we, nipped it off even more, down to under what we had started with at the beginning of the budget process of 6.99. And we're down to 6.91. So I think that's a remarkable job considering that we're not cutting any services. We're still providing the best possible quality of life in Miami Springs and, just keeping the costs down as much as we can. So with that said, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Sorry. Good night. We're by the police. Walter. Usually park on the street, just past them, there's